All right, welcome to the Krug Show meets Last Second Sports. Normally the big show, and we were getting ready to welcome back the great Vish. Vish is a little under the weather. All that traveling, so it's the duo. It's the big show duo on a Thursday night. Hope everybody's having a phenomenal January the 4th. If I haven't said it yet, let me say it because I only have one more day to say it. I've got a rule that you can't say Happy New Year after the 5th of January, and today's the 4th. So,
all right.
Happy New Year, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great New Year, and good luck to everybody in 2024. Welcome to the show, of course, on my end, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week, from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And, of course, we're also brought to you by New York-style Italian sausage. The only kind of Italian sausage I eat is New York-style Italian sausage. It is the best. We're also brought to you by Marin Auto Glass, marinautoglass.com, 415-883-3030, and Underdog and Mojo Fantasy. Check that link in the description. Use the promo code Krug, and they will match you up to your first $100. Jesse, good to see you, man. How was your holiday? How was New Year's? How did you guys celebrate?
Good. I mean, we didn't do anything super crazy. It's Christmas. We did our thing, but for New Year's, we had some people over, just a regular ball drop, nothing crazy. Let the kids stay up till midnight. They're 11 and 9, so that's a big deal at that age to stay up that late. They played football in the street until 10, 11 at night with their friends. So that was a good time. And other than that, pretty low key. I do got to say, it's pretty funny, though, that Vish is not here tonight because a lot of people think that he's like kicked off the show. And so we had like teed up this whole thing that Vish was going to be back tonight.
Right.
Only for him to basically call out sick on us. So it looks like we've just kicked him to the curb again. It's terrible.
I know. He was traveling, I think back, did he say from India?
India. Yeah, that's where he was at.
So, I mean, that's not exactly short travel. And man, I'd love to have been a fly on the wall on what his experiences were like in India, because I've never been to India, but I've watched lots of specials on the most populated places in the world, and some of the cities in India are among the most populated places in the world. And let's just say it's nothing like San Francisco, it's nothing like Chicago, it's nothing like Tampa, it's nothing like basically any American city. And I'd love to experience it. I'd love to see, what the population feels like when you have that many people around you. And I mean, I've seen some of the streets of some of the bigger cities of India, and it's just packed, absolutely packed. And it's amazing. You have people on motorbikes. You've got all kinds of, it looks like anything I've ever seen before, unlike anything I've ever seen before. So I'd love to experience that at some point. Have you traveled internationally, Jesse? Are you an international traveler?
I've traveled internationally a bit, but never anywhere like India or crazy continents like Mexico, Canada, DR, that type of stuff.
Where have you been internationally?
Costa Rica.
Okay.
That's
Very
basically
good.
Costa Rica, DR, Mexico, Canada. I think that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's more than I have. I've gone to Mexico. I've gone to Canada. I've never been to Europe, never been to Asia, never been to, it's funny. I've done so many different things, but I have not had a chance to travel internationally. And I would love to. I would absolutely love to, because I think it would be absolutely a perspective shaker, for sure.
I want to go to Australia, but the spiders
under,
over there
yeah.
are like this big.
Spiders?
If I run into a spider that's the size of my head, I probably would burn the whole country down.
That would not be good. That would not be good. I'm not a big insect guy myself, which you're in Florida, so you guys probably have a little bit more. Well, I don't know. Tampa's on the coast, right? So you don't probably. What's the insect deal there? Because there's very few insects in California. It's not humid, and usually with humidity brings insects.
Yeah, I mean we definitely have probably more insects than you would be comfortable with, but we also have a lot of lizards. So they eat said insects. So it's actually not that bad. I will say though that they are a little bit bigger. When I first moved out here and saw some of the grasshoppers, I was like, oh, those are much bigger than they are in Oregon for sure. So you get a little bit of that, but you don't see them a lot because the lizards eat them pretty quickly.
Really? And do you see a lot of lizards?
Oh yeah, everywhere. Everywhere.
Really?
Little lizards, nothing crazy, but yeah, they're everywhere.
Not Komodo dragons or anything?
No.
Eating
They're
goats?
alligators too. Like my neighborhood, there's like it's a gated community, but there's like 1,200 homes in this thing. It's massive. 2 golf courses, 1,200 homes, and probably 8 pretty good sized ponds. There's good sized gators. Like I go on a walk and there's 8 to 10 foot gators pretty regularly that I see on a daily basis.
Now, how close can you get? Are they fast?
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. So when I first moved here, I had no idea.
Don't they eat animals, small animals?
Yeah, they will, but these ones are pretty, I don't know. They're more scared of you than anything. But when I first moved here, I had no idea. But we're driving through the neighborhood. I'm like, oh, there's a gator. Like, let's stop. So I get out and it's basically banked up on the top of this pond. And so I sneak around this way thinking I'm like going to sneak up on this thing. So I sneak up behind it and this thing jumped like 6 feet in the air and belly flopped in the water. And then its beady eyes poked up over the water and were looking at me like, oh man, they're a lot more agile than I did not expect them to move that quickly. Have not gotten close to a gator since I've learned my lesson.
Now you are not a Florida native though. You're an Oregon native, right?
Yeah, Oregon. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's nothing close to that there. I mean, so what? So, but you do see alligators? Like when was the last time you saw an alligator?
This morning. I walked by one this morning. Yeah.
How close? How close would you let it get?
I mean, on my walk,
huge, the ponds get like 15 feet long or something like that.
Yeah, the closest that I get is maybe 20 feet from them. Just on my walk, I go on my path and the pond's there and they're right just sticking out of the pond. Or this time of year, they're usually out of the water because they're trying to get warm. But yeah, they actually get pretty close. They don't bother you. You don't bother them. They don't bother you. It's fine.
Difference between an alligator and a crocodile. Any idea?
Like the snout, the mouth, I think. The shape of the mouth. I don't know. Yeah.
You could right now you could say anything and I'd be like, oh, didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that's a good thing.
Good observation. Good observation. I'm an alligator virgin. Though I've eaten alligator. I was in New Orleans and I had alligator and it was kind of like chicken nuggets. I was talking to Tay Martin yesterday in the locker room and he's from New Orleans. We were talking about eating alligator and he's like, alligators are really, really good. I told
alligator is good. I eat gator bites all the time. Whenever I go to a restaurant, I get gator bites pretty regularly. It's good.
Really?
Yeah.
That's on the menu?
Normal, most menus here have it. Yeah.
And it's breaded, just tastes like a chicken, huh?
Yeah, they fry them, they, do whatever, yeah.
Yeah. I've had it at Cochon. It was awesome. I would recommend alligator to anybody if you haven't tried it. All right, let's get into the Niners. And we've already got a bunch of people in the chat. We're building up an audience here. Hit like and subscribe. If you hit like, that helps the algorithm. More people find the show. If you hit subscribe, hit that notification bell on either channel. Every time Jesse and I go live, you'll get a little notification that we're going live and you can join in. The Niners had 9 Pro Bowlers and a slew of alternates. And I'm not really getting the whole Pro Bowl thing. You think I don't understand alligators? I don't understand the Pro Bowl either. I don't understand how Dre Greenlaw could never be a Pro Bowler. He's never been a Pro Bowler. I don't understand how the 49ers could have an offensive line that I view as kind of passable at best and maybe effective from time to time, but oftentimes seems like the weakness of their offense and maybe team. And yet almost every guy on their offensive line was a Pro Bowl alternate. How does that work? What do you make of the list? And then it's going to lead us into our Brandon Ayuk, because Ayuk also was not a Pro Bowler, and I don't understand that. To me, Greenlaw and Ayuk should have been Pro Bowlers, and I don't understand how, was Spencer Burford an alternate? I'm not sure if he was or wasn't, but Brendel
I
was.
don't think so. I don't
McKivitz
think so.
was.
Yeah.
And I love McKivitz, great guy to talk to and stuff, but he struggled. He gave up a bunch of pressures. He gave up 3 sacks in week 1 to Pittsburgh. He gave up a bunch of pressures in the Ravens game. I just don't, when I think of Pro Bowler, I just would never have thought he would have been an alternate. And yet he's a Pro Bowl alternate. And so's Brendel. So's Banks.
Yeah, he's given up a big number of the team pressures too. There was a stat that dropped this week. It was like top 5 offensive linemen as far as the percentage of pressures they give up on their team. And McKivitz was in that top 5, along with McGlinchey, oddly enough, who they just got rid of and replaced with McKivitz. But so to me, I don't understand it either. I think the way it works is there's fan voting. It's like thirds. Fan voting, players, executives maybe vote, and then that's how they come up with it. I don't know if it's a weighted algorithm or how it works, but if you look at the voting as far as fans went, 49ers were getting heavy votes, more so than any team. They went crazy on the votes this year. So I got to imagine that plays into it a bit. And I think for the most part, they got it right. There are some weird ones in there, like Buda Baker. I don't think should have been in there. Obviously, some of the alternates are off. But Ayuk, that was one that was tough. That was a tough pill to swallow because we look at Ayuk and we're like, damn, he had a hell of a season. We think he's easily a top 10 wide receiver. Maybe some people would say top 5, but then you look at the NFC and it's like, well, who do you take out? Because you got Puka Nacua, you got AJ Brown, actually the one that I would have taken out, and I love him. Evans is a hell of a player. I think it's time to start considering him pressing into the top 10 of all time. You look at his career and what he's been able to put together. Hell of a player. A couple more seasons, I think he's probably there. But this year, I don't think he deserved to be there. I probably would have taken him out, and I would have had either St. Brown or Ayuk in there. But overall, I mean, you know, it's a Pro Bowl. And what sucks, though, what does suck, though, is that we see that it's kind of random, but a lot of these players have incentives based off of making the Pro Bowl or All Pro. All Pro's a little bit more serious. They take that a little bit more serious, but the Pro Bowl, it's like, I mean, it's kind of a crapshoot, really. Anybody can get in. It seems like it's a popularity contest.
I would have, it's funny. We interviewed Mooney Ward today in a group setting, and Mooney's like, there's one wide receiver, I won't name him, but there's one wide receiver who made the Pro Bowl that Ayuk should have beaten out. And I don't know who he's referring to. I think it's Puka Nacua from the Rams. And I guess my question is, why is it that Ayuk is getting slighted? Why did he get snubbed? Because like Puka Nacua, for me, he to get to 1,400 receiving yards, Ayuk has 1,317 receiving yards on 97 targets.
Mm-hmm.
Nakua has 1,400 receiving yards. He's 147 targets. So I don't know. I mean, that's kind of a weird thing. Do you hold a guy's the volume of targets against him, or a lack of volume of targets? I mean, it's kind of a weird situation. It almost is like saying it's harder to make the Pro Bowl on a good team at receiver than it is on a team where they're throwing you the ball more. But I don't know. I mean, why, in your mind, why did Ayuk get snubbed? Is it his quiet personality? Is it efficiency isn't respected because he's more efficient than Puka, clearly, just based on those numbers? Is it that touchdowns move the needle over yards? Or is it what I would call the Talanoa Hufanga factor, where if you produce early in the year, it seems like that there's more benefit to that than if you produce late. I mean, you could say that Ayuk's touchdown production came later in the year. If the second half had been the first half, would he have been a Pro Bowler, or was he not a Pro Bowler because his production came later in the year and maybe people didn't notice it? I don't know. I really have no idea.
The only thing I can think of is volume. I think that there is something to be said for sheer volume. Something about 100 catches is a prestigious thing in the league as well. So I think that there's some of that. Also, when you look at the NFC, though, I think 7 of the top 10 receivers in yardage are all in the NFC.
Right.
So it's like, okay, if you remove whoever, whether it's Evans or Puka Nakua or whoever you think should be removed, well, how do you not make a case for Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's had a hell of a season for the Lions? I mean, he's a big part of that offense. He's
a
quite
number one.
frankly, he is kind of what we think Debo is. If I'm being real with you, I mean, he takes end arounds. He's a great route runner. He's smaller in stature, but he's very physical. He catches a ton of passes. I mean, he's a hell of a player. So, I don't know that he got snubbed per se, but it doesn't feel right not having him in there, knowing how hard he worked. And also, if he would have gotten 50 more targets, what his numbers would have been. We know for sure he would have been a Pro Bowler. So it does make it tough.
Well, and also I kind of wonder, I mean, is it branding? If his name was more memorable, like Debo, would he have made it? I don't know. I mean, I'm not really sure. Is brand? I mean, we say that we respect wide receivers who block, but then we don't reward wide receivers who block by putting them in the Pro Bowl. And Evans did have a ridiculous number of touchdowns, didn't he? Doesn't he have a bunch of touchdowns? Doesn't he have like 14 or 15 touchdowns?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's up there. So yeah.
But I mean, if you said to me who's a better receiver between Evans and Ayuk, Evans has great ball skills, but Ayuk's faster. I think is makes a lot of plays across the middle. He's fearless. He blocks. To me, Evans had a great career, and obviously he's got great touchdown production. But I kind of wonder, do we then, is it possible that the people who vote on this thing value touchdowns more than receptions?
Yeah, you also got to wonder, do they value anything at all? I mean, let's just keep it real for a minute. Some of these players
with the fans,
that made
you mean with the fans?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the fans are going to vote whatever. If that's a third of the votes, there's nothing you can do about that. They're going to vote their favorites. But overall, when you see guys like Budda Baker make it, and I love Budda Baker. I think if he plays all season, he is one of the better safeties in the league, and he probably does deserve to be there. But he missed a big chunk. Missed a big chunk of games. So does he really deserve to be in there? Does Colton McKivitz deserve to be an alternate? And some of these other guys, I mean, even Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't think anybody's arguing that. But did he really deserve to be one of the 3 quarterbacks in the AFC when you look at some of the numbers that he's put up? I think there's an argument to say probably not. But, he makes it based off of how great he is and his name and career plays into it, everything. So,
yeah. Maybe it's a rep situation. I know in baseball, the All-Star Game's very much about rep. Like, what's your reputation? Did you say that Baker made the Pro Bowl?
No, I don't think Baker did.
Budda Baker?
I'm saying Patrick Mahomes. Oh, Budda Baker did. Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were thinking Baker Mayfield. Yeah.
But Budda Baker made it.
Yeah, he's a starter. Bobby Wagner made it.
So let me see. What did Baker play for games this year? I mean, it's not a lot. I know he missed a bunch of games.
Yeah,
he played 11 games.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. I mean,
he missed a half dozen games. That's a lot. 18-game season to miss 6 games.
You missed a third of the season. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's surprising. I'll say this. I think I want to see. It would have been nice for Brandon to get that, especially in his contract year. In a kind of a perverse way, does it help the Niners re-sign him? I mean, I saw Spot Track did an estimate of what Ayuk is going to get in free agency, and Spot Track estimated $23 million a year. I already think that Ayuk's a must re-sign guy. I've looked at the Niner free agents. They got a bunch of them, but there's a bunch of them they could just let walk and will let walk. If it's 23 a year, I'm giving him 23 a year. No problem.
I mean, he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid top 5 receiver money and you kind of just got to let it happen. I guess the question becomes, do they do it this offseason or do they wait? Because typically, the 49ers are a team that will wait a little bit. So is it something that they address this offseason, or they say, let's give it one more season, take our chances on it? I think the longer they wait, the more it's going to cost them. So I would try to get it done this offseason if I was the 49ers, but sometimes they don't look at it that way. And, and the way that you're talking about Ayuk is the same thing that happened to Purdy. Purdy likely not getting the MVP might save them a little bit of money,
They don't have
although
to pay Purdy though until when? 2 years, right?
after next year. But I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. You're an MVP. I mean, write the blank check already. It doesn't matter, which kind of sucks because Purdy is, I mean, he's severely underpaid. If anybody deserves to get the most money they can get, it would be Brock Purdy, who's basically been playing for free when it comes to NFL pay standards. Maybe not to what you and I make or whatever else, but as far as what NFL players make, he's basically playing for free. Yeah, it was so bad that when Christmas came around, he's like, "Listen, I would love to get everybody gifts, but I
can't afford it.
I can't afford that. Are you kidding me? When I take home 150 grand a year and live in California, what are we talking about? No, I've got a roommate. McKivitz is my roommate. Like this is how I live right now.
Yeah,
or Zakel's my roommate. Yeah, like
but he makes $840,000 a year.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. You got.
If
listen,
somebody's making $840,000 a year, that's
what's he gonna get though? I mean, you take away taxes. Then you take away your agent fees. You take away the prep that to care for your body. I mean, is he netting? Is he walking away with 200 grand that he gets to play with every year? That's not a lot. That's really not a lot of money.
Well, especially not for an NFL quarterback. Not enough to be giving out opulent, gifts to your.
Not enough to be handing out golf carts to your offensive linemen like Pat Mahomes, right? Like those are 15,000 a pop. What are you gonna do?
Seriously. Gosh, I mean, those linemen looked so happy. By the way, that day when they were getting there, they were like little kids. Yeah. By the way, I didn't even ask you. With little kids, what was the big gift in your house? Was there a gift that was like, all right, here we go? Like
it depends. They're both into their own things. For my youngest Maddox, who's a big Ravens fan,
you bought him the Ravens?
No, yeah. I brought Lamar Jackson to the house. No, he's a big Ravens fan, and he's just a big football fan in general. So he got a Lamar jersey, and then I got him tickets to the Pro Bowl as well. So
nice.
He's to him the Pro Bowl is a big deal.
I thought they're Pro Bowl
in Orlando. In Orlando,
it's an actual
flag
game
football.
or
it's flag football. It's flag. But for him, it doesn't matter. Just being around the stars and seeing them play, and he loves it. So for him, that's a big deal. So he got Pro Bowl tickets, and then my oldest could care less about sports. He's really into art and drawing, but he's also like really big into Five Nights at Freddy's. This I had never heard of it before he was around, but anyways, so I got him some stuff that pertained to that, and he was on cloud nine. So yeah, that was, they loved it.
It's funny. I like to say that I share 50-50 duties on almost everything with my wife. Taking out the trash, doing dishes. She does more of the laundry, but basically we share all the household duties except for Christmas purchasing. She's totally better at it than me. She's like, she's the one who she knows everybody's list. She's got it down. It's like she looks at me and she's like, ha, 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 you just show up. You just fund
dude. Listen. I saw this thing a couple years ago, and it couldn't be more true. Where it was, it was kids opening a gift on Christmas, and dad's like peering over their shoulder because he also doesn't know what they got. So he's like,
right.
"Ooh, that's awesome!" He's getting excited with them because he has no clue what was bought for him. That is mostly true. Although this year I was on my game, man. All the big gifts, it was me. It was my ideas, so I felt pretty good about that.
There's always a couple that I'm involved with, but they're surprised. Or I'll get this, Dad, thank you so much, and I'll be like, I give the high eye.
Welcome.
If you really don't know, you can always in life. If you don't know, you can almost get away with the high eye all the time. Just like
that's the trick.
Just like it's a good way.
So excited for you, yeah.
It's like Good, bad, or otherwise. Really? Wow. I'm so excited for you and for me.
Because I had no clue what you were opening.
Though I did love this gift behind me that you advised Kev on, and I'm loving the neon light. Though I am getting a little glow off the back. Yours doesn't glow as much. You must either have some cover on it or the outline's a little not as bright. Look at that. Look at the. It's my neon light's very
It's
very
good
bright.
though. It shows depth. It shows that you're separated from the wall behind you. I don't know what you like turned yours up to, but mine's at 25%. I hit the
25.
25% button, and then I bump it down one from that. I hit the glow
Oh,
down. So mine's a little bit
down.
lower than yours, I think.
I'm at 25%.
If you hit 25 and then hit the arrow down afterwards, like that's as low as it gets.
Oh, wait a second. There we go.
See, not as
Look
glowy.
at that.
Not as glowy.
I'm learning. All right, let's hit the super chats here. We got a bunch of them. They're stacking up. All right, let's go to Frank Tom Ocean. He says, like smashed on both channels. There you go.
Thank you.
Frankie. Thank you, Frank Tom Ocean. Appreciate you. Brother Greenlaw, little decorum, Bob says, Nails, we re-signing Brandon Ayuk to a 25 to 27 million per year deal. I would ask Purdy Profit, but he already said no for BA because of drops, not getting open, and lack of touchdowns. What say you? Never gonna let that one go. I mean, literally never gonna. I think I think at some point, Brother Bob, you may want to drop that one. But go ahead, Jesse. What do you think? 20. What do you think he'll get? I'm saying I'd pay. I've looked at the free agent list. I don't really mind if Ayuk's the only free agent that they re-sign. Maybe one or two more, but of the major ones, I mean, they don't have tons of major free agents. It's him. It's Chase Young. I would let Chase. I like Chase Young. Good dude. Talked to him a little bit today, but if he wants to be paid like a premier edge rusher, I think I'm letting him walk down the road. I just think that I can find guys in the draft to replace him. I don't know if I can find a receiver to replace Ayuk. So I'm paying Ayuk and I'm letting Chase walk.
Well, I would too if that's the choice. But here's the question for you. So the first year that his money would kick in is technically 2025, right? Because they've got him on the fifth year option this next year. Even if he re-sign a deal, it'll be the year after that. Debo 2025 makes 24.2 million. Are you giving him? Let's say he says, you know what? I want to make more than Debo. I want 24.5 million just to say that I am the highest paid receiver on the team. Are you saying yes to that deal?
I would just because I think he's going to age well. And he's, you tend to, it's like the free agents always go up. You know what I mean? The cost of your free agents always go up. So I think you just have to be okay with that. And I think Debo would be okay with that. It's all about getting paid when it's your time to get paid. So, but here's the Niner undrafted free agent list. Randy Gregory, I'd like to re-sign him or maybe extend him. Wait a second. Chase Young, no. Sam Darnold, I could say no to. Kinlaw, if I could get him at the right price, I'd like to have him back. Otherwise, it's okay if he walks. Tayshaun Gibson, I wouldn't pay Tayshaun. Sebastian Joseph Day, let's see how he does. He has looked really good in practice, really good. Oren Burks, nope, not paying him. Cleveland Farrell, not worried about that. Feliciano, he's 32, he might retire. Kevin Givens, 2.1 million. I might pay him. Ray McLeod, doubtful. Flanagan Fowles, doubtful. Dwelly, no. Brandon Allen, no. Chris Conley, no. Logan Ryan, no. Matt Pryor, no. Jawan Jennings, I think I would pay, but not.
I'm letting Jawan walk.
Well, I'd let him walk if he gets a real big offer, but I like Jawan Jennings. I think he's a culture player. Ben Barch, I want to resign. Warner, I'm letting walk. Terrence Mitchell, I don't even think he's on the team anymore. So there you go. I mean, it's not you know what I'm saying? It's like you look at that list and you got like one or two guys. like Gregory, maybe Kinlaw, maybe Joseph Day, definitely Ayuk. And Ayuk's not even a free agent. You don't have to pay him right now. So I don't know.
They're
I
going to
like the
be
way
able to afford. They're going to be able to afford most of these guys next year. And the nice thing is about most of those players that you named, you can probably get away with doing a 1-year deal, which then sets you up the next year to be free of those contracts and decide all over again. So I actually don't. Next year is not really the problem because they have that 37 or so million that they get to carry over to next year, which
right.
is going to be significant. So they're going to be able to keep this team whole for the most part if they decide that's the route they want to take. But it's also going to take a lot of 1-year deals to kind of finagle it and get it to happen. Really, it's 2 years from now. This team is going to be drastically different. I know that I've talked about it on here, and I think you agreed. But in 2 years, you're looking at guys like Kittle, Trent, maybe Debo, Armstead, Juszczyk. Those guys are not going to be here. At the start of 2025 season, I would be shocked. McCaffrey, I'd be shocked if most of those guys are back. I think most of them will not be on this roster, and we're looking at a completely different team, which makes this upcoming draft and the one after that so important because in order to restock the cupboard, when you got guys like Purdy about to get paid, Ayuk, and what have you, the big chunks of the contracts when it comes to Warner and Bosa, Greenlaw, all these other guys, Charvarius Ward, you're going to have to hit in the draft. So these drafts are so crucial to the 49ers remaining at the top of the NFL beyond 2024, in my opinion.
And I think Lynch has done, I love the way the Niners handle free agency. And I think Lynch has done a much better job than Balky at drafting.
Yeah.
If you just look at the percentage, the hit rate, I was looking at John's hit rate and the star players. Balky hit at like 12% in the Harbaugh years, and he had like 2 star players. And one of them was Alden Smith, the other was Borland, maybe Kaepernick, if you want to throw Kaepernick in there. John Lynch has hit on a lot of star players, and has a much, much higher hit rate overall. We got this one from Andy. He says, what day and time do you think the Niners will play in the divisional round? I think they're going to go in the primetime window. There's 4 windows in the divisional round. There's 2 games on Saturday, January the 20th. There's 2 games on Sunday, January the 21st. My guess is they will play the second game either Saturday or Sunday. That'd be my guess. Though the second game on Saturday is a night game. I believe the second game on Sunday is a afternoon game. I think. Isn't it? Doesn't it go afternoon, evening, and then morning, and then afternoon on Sunday? Typically,
Well, then they got the Monday night game too. No, not the week that the 49ers played. They have the Monday night game that they've added to the wild card. But yeah, I want to say that sounds right. I think they do a night game on a Saturday and then 2 early games on Sunday.
Yeah, they'll be in the prime. They'll be in one of the primetime windows for sure.
Well, and then the 49ers are going to be in the NFC Championship, assuming they make it. I think they're going to be the night game. I think this year it's the NFC's the night game. So, because they alternate every year.
Well, is it night or is it morning and afternoon? Because the NFC title game used to be, or the title game weekend used to be morning and afternoon.
Well, I want to say when I say night, I guess I'm looking at
what do you think?
East Coast. 4? It's not going to be it's not going to be West Coast time or whatever. But I want to say it's at like 5 or something.
Okay,
5, 6 o'clock Eastern time.
I looked at ESPN.com's breakdown of the games, and there's no times listed on any of them, including the wild card. So they'll play with that. I'm sure there are set times, but I think they'll be in a prime time window for sure. Calvin and Hobbs says, what is more concerning as the Niners head to the playoffs? The run D, the offensive line, or special teams / kicker? That's interesting. That was actually one of the topics I wanted to get to, which is I phrased it as, what is the Niners' biggest issue entering the playoffs? I have O-line, run D, rustiness, interceptions, and Purdy's inexperience. I didn't even factor in special teams or kicker. I guess I could have thrown that in there. But if you went with mine instead of his, because I got a few more here, what would you say is the biggest issue for the Niners? Their O-line, the fact that they won't have played in 3 weeks, the interceptions that they've thrown, the run defense, or Purdy's inexperience, despite the fact he's already played two playoff games and change, we'll call it.
God, on the surface, I want to say the run defense, only from the standpoint of more on the missed tackle aspect, not necessarily run defense, but just once you've got a player in front of you actually making the tackle. This team has more missed tackles than it had all of last year, including the playoffs, by I think about 15. And this is coming off of 2 weeks where they only missed 9 tackles. So missed tackles for me is a concern, which kind of parlays into the run defense. But I also think that there's an aspect of that is remedied with the 49ers getting a rest and getting the bye week. So yeah. I got to be honest, I'm not too concerned about any of them. Even the rust thing where, okay, maybe you're sitting too long. That could be a big deal. Yeah, but who are you going to play?
Steve Young believes it's an issue. Did you see that?
I don't necessarily disagree with him. I actually probably tend to agree. My preference was having the players play a half. Just play the first half, stay in sync, stay in rhythm. But then I thought about it. I was like, okay, well, I mean, who's really going to give them problems in round 2? Maybe the Rams, I guess, if that's the team. But even them, I mean, are you that concerned about it? I just don't think that there's a reason to be concerned for the 49ers. I really don't. This thing should be a cakewalk in the NFC. Now, once you get to the Super Bowl, I think you're playing a for real team, no matter who comes out over there. But the NFC is just, if I wasn't a Niner fan, I wouldn't be that excited if I was one of these other teams. I wouldn't think my team has a chance because the 49ers exist. So that's just me.
You know, it's funny. Steve Young brought up the whole rest versus rust factor. And he's not, Brock will not have played in roughly 3 weeks by the time they play this game, the divisional round. I looked at, his, you look at Purdy and you say, well, yeah, okay, there's that. He was asked about it today. I'm going to share the screen and play this for you. This is Purdy earlier today talking a little bit about this factor. And let's see what he has to say. Then we can talk a little bit about it. Let's see.
For 3 weeks, and if so, how do you kind of try to stay as much in rhythm as possible?
Yeah, I mean that's something that I brought up to Kyle, and then he brought up some really good points just in terms of the preseason, not getting a whole lot of reps and snaps, and then going into Pittsburgh and playing well enough to win. And same with the bye week, coming back and having a good performance against Jacksonville. So I think I've done it, this year in terms of having some rest and then coming in and playing. And so that's something that's feels good to go back and remind myself about. And not only that, I'm going to be practicing against really good defense, obviously our guys, for the next couple of weeks too. So and it's not like I'm going to be sitting on the couch for the next couple of weeks doing absolutely nothing. We're going to be out here still getting good reps against our defense, working on the little things I need to work on, my footwork, my reads at practice, and whoever we end up playing in our first round, we'll be ready for it. So.
Between the lines there, did you just at least mildly lobby to play a little something?
It was just part of our conversation, just being real with all the situations and scenarios with this week and playing and stuff. So that's something that we brought up and made the decision after that. So
what do you think, Jesse? I mean, the way I look at it is that, okay, Brock Purdy in college played no more than 13 games, I think. And he's already played 16 games. And then if you add in the preseason games, he's played 18 games. And if they go to the Super Bowl, he will have played 21 games. And I just think that that's a lot of games. I mean, he's the most passing attempts he's ever had in a season is 475. He's already at 460 right now. And I liked the Brock Purdy that I saw in Jacksonville as far as his arm strength. I think maybe taking your foot off the gas pedal a little bit with Brock maybe gives him a little bit of juice. To me, the best arm strength throw he made all year was the ball in the third quarter against Jacksonville, where he faked it. He pumped it to Ayuk, brought it back,
Yeah.
and then without being able to step into it, he just kind of threw it to Kittle, and he led him down the field on the touchdown where Kittle beat Devin Lloyd. That was a great arm strength throw. That was after the bye week. I don't know if the guy didn't look good against Jacksonville and hadn't looked good against Pittsburgh, and also if he were an older player who's played a bunch of games. I do understand what Steve Young's saying, because Steve Young understands rest versus rust, and God knows he knows a lot about pro football. I wouldn't question his knowledge, but I think it's a case-by-case basis. I guess for me, it's about what can you live with. I can live with, hey, man, Brock was rusty in the first 2 series over he played in week 18 against the Rams and he sprained an ankle and he lost his escapability, or he got hurt and he was not available and it's Sam Darnold time. I mean, I don't want to take a chance on that. Nothing against Sam, but I just think that the numbers in Vegas, Jesse, would drop precipitously on the Niners if they lost Brock Purdy. So I'd better be. I like the idea of being better safe than sorry and sitting him out. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine either way. Like I said, for me, I wanted to play the players that didn't have an injury designation a half to keep them going. That being said, if the question is, are you worried about Brock coming off of essentially 3 weeks of not playing football? No. And all you have to do is point back to the beginning of the season when one thing that we didn't know was, what would he be ready for week 1? What was that going to look like? And quite frankly, you're talking about a player who in his first real offseason, because last year as a rookie, your offseason is spent prepping for the draft. That's not a real offseason. This was his first real offseason. This was his chance to get better. And you can look at it and say, well, I mean, he's not going to have that. What's it going to look like week 1? And how long does it take him to get going? Well, it turns out week 1, the 49ers offense was humming. So if they can do that and he can do that, why can't you do it off of a few weeks rest when you have played all season? Now, I would argue that his best ball came after the bye week. So technically it took him a while to ramp up, but it's not like he was playing bad football to start the season by any means. So, the way that I look at it is case by case. Kyle Shanahan, you have to trust that he and the coaching staff know best. They're choosing to do this for a reason. I'm fine with it.
Okay. Let I lose track of my supers here. Where is it? Knees, I believe, was next. He said, Knees says Pro Bowl is more of a popularity contest, hence Bobby Wagner and Buda Baker over Greenlaw. Yeah, but I mean, my goodness, how many times? Bobby Wagner's a hell of a player, but Dre Greenlaw, I think, is every bit as good as Fred Warner. And the fact that Warner just annually gets this designation and Greenlaw never gets recognized, to me is just, come on, man, let's make the correction. Greenlaw is a Pro Bowl linebacker. There's no doubt in my mind. Brother Greenlaw, little decorum Bob says, yes, we all thought Brandon Ayuk was all pro except Purdy Profit. LOL. All right, there you go. You're killing me on the Ayuk forever. Brandon Ayuk got snubbed because peeps count phantom drops.
He's only got 2 this year. I mean, he had in the past he's had a bit of the dropsies, but this year he's only got 2.
We got this one from Roscoe's. He says, it's because you said BA was a disappointment. That's why. Wow. I have that kind of power over the Pro Bowl voting. Man,
hey.
I didn't know. If I knew I had that kind of power, I would have exercised it in other ways. Nee says, chill on the Brandon Ayuk hype. We're trying to keep the price down.
Too late. Secret's out, Niece. Secret is out.
Niece, I don't know about that one. Dave Barclay is a new member at Jesse's channel. He says he has become a new YouTube member, and I always give a little clap
Appreciate
to all
it.
the new YouTube members. It's always cool. There'll be more in the future. Dave Barclay says, sorry, Jess, I have to respectfully bow out.
Oh,
Okay.
All right.
Well,
see
hey,
you later, bud. Have a good one.
He's in. He's a member. And now he's bowing out. He's out.
Yeah.
Easy come, easy go. No, I'm just joking. Brother Greenlaw, little decorum, Bob, says Nails Larry disrespects you and Ryan on a regular basis, especially when he's on with DB. How do you still do shows with him? Generally curious. Okay.
Let's address
ahead.
it. Let's
do
address it.
Let's do it.
All right. So you had a show with Damon Bruce,
Right.
and of course, I get tagged in the video of you guys talking about, first of all, clearly talking about Ryan. Like, let's Damon's clearly talking about Ryan. That's fine. You guys have your thing. The only issue
what did Damon say? What did Damon say?
Well, he said he was, if you're a mortgage broker, basically a real estate agent or a mortgage broker or whatever, maybe you shouldn't be talking sports, which that's a clear shot at Ryan. I mean, we know exactly who he's talking about. So no surprise there. But then there's a second half of that where you're talking about what seems to be one of my takes, which you and I have had an hour conversation on this very show about. And people immediately take it, run to Twitter, and they're like, Jesse, Ryan, they're talking about you. Now, I say in the cut, I don't really say much. I said one thing, which was, listen, Larry has my number. If Larry had an issue, I'm sure he would pick up the phone and call me. Other than that, I'm not worried about what's being said behind the screen, because what's being said behind a screen is about as real as Santa. I'm going to keep doing me. And if people have a problem with it, then they can keep it pushing. I really don't care. It's not going to slow my roll. That's where I'm coming from. But on the flip side of that is, I guess the only thing I would say, Larry, is,
what was your take? What was your take that I brought up?
The wait and see on Brock, I think, which I've never said. I never said wait and see. I've given a clear take on Brock, and then I've just said I won't know if I'm right.
No. Now I think I remember. It had to do with he's the guy right now, but he's not the guy long term.
Yeah, Mr. Right versus Mr. Right now, which I made the video in March. Yeah. Yep.
Right. And I've disagreed. I disagree with
which
that
is fine.
take. And I've told you to your face that I disagree with that take.
I understand that. And so, but I guess where things run a little rampant is when you say that and you don't put a name on it. Now, every single time, if you say something and you don't put a name on it, there's three names that are going to come up every single time. It's going to be Ryan, which most likely it is about Ryan, Grant, and myself. And it's like, well, Larry does shows weekly with Jesse and Grant. How are you going to continue to do these shows with them? And the way that I'm going to say it is, it's not a real beef. It is football takes. First of all, we're doing a show together, which benefits both platforms. If Larry had a real issue, he could pick up the phone and call me. And if it's not going to get to that point where he's picking up the phone and calling me, then I don't take it that seriously. That being said, when you are doing shows with Damon and things start flying, if you don't put names on it, then immediately the conversation is going to be steered to Grant, myself, and Ryan. So I would say if you're not talking about us, you probably should just say it's not about these guys, because every time I'm going to hear about it. And it is very annoying that I've got to hear about what Larry's talking about with Damon Bruce. Now, as far as Damon goes, F that dude. Could care less about him. He's a real life scumbag. You and I have an actual relationship and we talk. I don't take it that seriously, but you have to know that every time you talk about it, I'm gonna be thrown into the fray as, why is this guy talking behind your back? It's just what's gonna happen.
Well, I just want you and everybody else to know that I don't control what you say, Coach says, Vish says, Grant says, Ryan says, Damon says. Damon can say what Damon wants to say, and it's not my job to be his keeper. When I do a show with you, I do a show with you because I like you. I do a show, but it's not a straight endorsement of every point that you make. Is now we're in lockstep. We're not a couple. You're not my wife. I'm not your wife. You know what I'm saying? We're not I endorse you for your credibility and your channel for its credibility, which is why I work with you. But it should not be an acknowledgement that I agree with every one of your 49er takes. Grant and I don't agree on a lot of 49er takes. And we just, I I talk to him every day. We're friends and we're going to be friends. And I get people who complain when I say, some people complain if I mention their name. Other people complain if I don't cite their name. If I bring up the topic and I lead into this gigantic discussion, I feel like I owe the people on the other end an explanation. If I'm just there when somebody's venting, that's on them. It's on them. If he wants now, there's limits, right? If he started bashing you, like literally bashing you, don't join his channel. I'd be like, dude,
he did do that. He literally did
But-
that. That's why I say he's a
but not-
scumbag, and I called him
Yeah.
out for it.
But I
that's
mean,
the only time.
not
I
on
don't
this
care
one,
about
not
that
in this,
dude.
Not
No,
you're
he
saying
didn't.
that,
He didn't.
not this time.
No.
But I mean, you and I are close enough where, I mean, he attacks Grant all the time, and I always be like, dude, I like Grant. And then I get pushed back either way. I get pushed back from the people who do like Grant. How could you not challenge this guy? And then grouped with him and his opinion, even though it's coming out of his orifice, not mine. And then I also get the people that are rah Damon and don't like Grant being like, why are you having Grant on? There's when you collab with somebody in this forum, you could spend the entire time sitting there handing out a flow chart. He said this, I agree with that. He didn't. He said that, I don't agree with this. I kind of agree with this, but he kind of made it seem, I'm not doing streams like that. This is not a sorority house. He can speak for himself. If he doesn't like Jesse Naylor, that's on Damon. If he doesn't like Grant Cohn, that's on Damon. I will own everything I say about everybody. Ryan and I have had all kinds of beef, and he's like, leave my name out of your mouth. I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. I'm okay with that. I can abide by that. So anytime his name, I could have his name blocked in my chat if I wanted to, but I don't give a shit enough. So I just let people say what they want to say, and his name's in my chat. And when his name comes up and I'm reading a super, I just don't say his name. But I ultimately, I really don't even have, even though he said some heinous things to me, I don't really have any real beef with him. And somewhere in these streams here, in these supers, there's a chat from him saying, come on my show, invite me. You got my number, call me and invite me on your show and see if I turn you down. But as far as what I've said to you is I disagree with the Purdy's the right guy now and not the right guy in the future. We're cool. And I got nothing. And your name comes up in other chats, as well. And I said it last night on the Gammon Brown was in my call-in show with Kev. And you came up and I said, look, I fully endorse Jesse's channel. I like Jesse. I like his reasoning. I agree with a lot of his takes. I don't agree with all of them, but you know what? So what? I like him as a person. I think he's a good guy, and I'm going to continue to stream with him. I don't agree. There's all kinds of things I really don't agree with Grant on, but you know what? We talk it out or we don't, but we just go on, So I will say this though. I wouldn't want you to think that, hey, he's going to say one thing to my face and another thing behind my back. But also it's like, I'm a man. You're a man. Damon's a man. If Damon is just, crushing you on football stuff and you're crushing him on football stuff, I'm going to let you guys work it all out. If he comes on any stream,
I don't say that dude's name. I don't talk about that.
But I mean, if he comes on a stream and says, don't anybody follow Jesse and Last Second Sports, I'm going to push back on that. I am going to push back on. Why?
Which he did do, and you did push back. You did. And
to me,
and
there's a big difference between never F with a man's money.
I agree.
I just kind of,
and I would never tell anybody in here not to listen. If Damon's your cup of tea, support him. All content creators, whether I like them or not, whether I'm your cup of tea, I don't care. If you enjoy my content, then come over. If you don't, that's fine too. If you like Damon, subscribe to Damon. I would never, ever, ever, ever tell anybody not to subscribe to another content creator. But
I wouldn't either. And
my personal issue with him is that he has done that. And I think it's Bush League. And I think
I agree.
So that's it.
I told him, I said, hey, look, man, if you're going to be in this pool with all these people, and you are, you have to acknowledge that you're in that pool in the same way you wouldn't get on a radio show and be like, hey, that show that's on before me sucks ass. And that show that's on after me sucks ass. You wouldn't do that. Why? Because you're somewhat teammates. You're on the same radio station. We're on the same platform. We're doing the same thing. We're talking. We're doing YouTube shows talking about the Niners. We're not all going to agree, but you have to do it. If you're going to disagree, you got to disagree in a respectful, professional way. Now, there's also guy talk where guys rib each other. I get it.
Totally
I can laugh it off. Brother Bob's going to rip me 19 times. I'm going to laugh it off. We were doing a chat, a stream a month ago, and Ryan jumped in and started going at me. I can laugh it off, but just be able to laugh it off the same way going the other way. That's all I would say to everybody. So if all of a sudden I tune into a stream and I hear, Krug said this, and can you believe what an idiot? I don't care. I've been doing this way too long. I'm fine. I'm fine. Nobody has to call me. Nobody has to apologize to me. Nobody has to make any amends to me in any way. I'm a big boy. I can handle myself. Brother Bob wants to rip me for my Brandon Ayuk take. That's totally fine. Bring it on. Keep donating. If you start to bring up Felipe Alou from 2005, I'm blocking your ass on Twitter. That's just the way it is. Because I don't have to endure stupidity decades later. And if you're going to drag my name through the mud, I've got the right to block you or mute you. I don't want to see it, but go for it. Do what you got to do. Seriously. Don't go at me. Don't go at my family. Don't go at my sponsors. Have some rules or decorum to what you do. But other than that, I'm a big boy. I can handle criticism and I can handle people. I would take the popular opinion at every turn if I was really concerned about sensitivities or, people pushing back. I took a ton of heat last year when I said John Lynch is going to, confirm, he's going to recommit to Brock Purdy and he's going to trade Trey Lance. And it's like, I got people saying heinous stuff to me for months, and I just wore it for months. So it's like, you know what? I'm a big boy. I can take it. But also I'm not going to take the entire stream and, correct everybody's thing unless they cross a line where they went at you professionally, or I felt it was crossed a line. And that line's kind of a blurry line, right? Because there's any number of topics. But if it's just about disagreeing about football stuff, then it's fair game. If it ever goes beyond that, I have to say something either on the air, off the air, or both. So I know that doesn't necessarily clear anything up completely, but that's kind of where I'm coming from.
I'm really not tripping over it when it comes to you. My biggest thing is I personally am not going to talk about any other content creators on my stream and their takes unless I say their name. And I'm going to put a name on it. And it is so rare. I don't bring people up. I don't care, man. I'm doing my own thing. If you rock with me, you rock with me. If you don't, I don't care. I really could care less. This is the first time I've ever brought his name up, and he deserves it. And I brought it up months ago, but he's the type that pokes and pokes and pokes and tells people not to subscribe to other channels, does it on a regular basis. And frankly, I'm sick of it. Like, don't be Bush League, man. Just you do your own thing. You stay in your lane, we'll stay in our lane. But the moment you start taking it beyond sports takes and telling people to not, support other people, bro, I don't need this. I do this part-time. Like, I could walk away tomorrow. My house is still paid for. I'm still good, right? But you do need this. And so I would never, ever, ever in my life say, hey, you know what? Don't allow that man to feed his family. I just wouldn't do it. So when it happens back to you, and then it happens repeatedly, and then you are so chicken shit that you won't even say a name of the person that you're talking about the way that he does. Dude, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So, at some point it does get a little bit personal, and that's where it's been. It's the last time I'm talking about it, but
I hear you. I hear you.
It just is what it is, man.
Yeah.
So
no, I hear you. I hear you. There are no rules to this game. It's more about what kind of code do you live by as a man. That's
right.
kind of really it. And
Right.
at the end of the day, and you guys, all you guys, in the chat and the people who watch, you got to kind of decide based on the quality of our content, the quality of our dialogue, if what we're worth or not worth. And all I would say is I feel very confident in putting everything that I stand for as a person, whether it was things that I stood for on the radio, things that I stood for before I was on the radio, or things that I stand for now on YouTube. I've got no problem putting it out there. It's all there. I've never taken down a video. I've never taken down content. For the most part, I don't delete tweets unless I really feel that I made a huge mistake somehow, some way. And I don't want a war with people. I don't like the fact that Ryan and I, have parted ways. I don't. I'm with the same woman that I've been married to forever. All my friends from high school and college are still my friends. I'm not the kind of person. Some people do. Some people make friends and make relationships and throw them away and move on to the next thing, and they do it easily. I'm not in it for that. I'm more in it for the long haul, and so I'm not like that. But there's certain lines that if you cross, I guess you can't attack Kev, and Kev hates it when I defend him. But if you attack him in an unprofessional way, I'm gonna lash out. And so that's kind of my standard. But I also feel like I've done enough hours on here where I feel really confident you can go put on my channel, go to the Krug Show, and go watch the thousands and thousands of man hours that I have recorded on this platform and just evaluate it for yourself. Evaluate it for yourself. If you think I'm fair-minded, be with me. If you think I'm some hit piece, cheap shot, dirty, kneecapper, then bolt. And I respect you either way. I mean, that's really all I can say. And as far as you, Jesse, I hope you know that we've had enough conversations on and off this show and others that my respect for you goes beyond whether or not I have a YouTube show or you have a YouTube show. And I feel that way, the same way about Grant, about Coach, about Vish, about basically everybody that I stream with. If I felt like you were not somebody that I wanted to associate with, and there are people, I mean, we all know there are people that I streamed with and now no longer associate with. There are lines that you could cross that would make me say, I've had enough. But you're nowhere near that. And I really enjoy doing this show every Thursday with you and Vish, and then you and Coach. And I hope you enjoy it as much. And I plan on continuing it.
Brother, listen, like I said, if it doesn't come across my phone where you have my number, then I'm really not sweating it. So that's what it is. But, I did, since it was brought up, I wasn't going to talk about it. But if people, and I saw it running through the whole show when we first started, people want to know what's going on, whatever.
Right.
Once it became a super chat and it's brought up, let's just address it. Let's get it out of the way. Make sure people know that you and I are fine. But listen, I'm going to speak my mind on that other gentleman, I guess I'll call him, which I think is probably more than he deserves if I'm being real with you. But I'm going to speak my mind on him for one time and one time only, because he jabs and jabs and jabs and tells people not to do it. No, I'm done with it, bro. I'm absolutely done with that guy. So if like I said, sports takes are one thing, but if you want to start doing things like that, now you're in somebody's wheelhouse for manhood. Let's talk about that. Let's really talk about that.
No, and I agree. And I have expressed that to Damon. And if he were sitting right here, I would express it right on this chat to him. So, I got no issues with any of your points that you've made here. Let's try to get this back on the rails. Thank you, brother Bob. But Rob Schneider says, my fantasy Super Bowl is Sunday. I need Debo playing. Will Debo play on Sunday? He start.
He said that he was playing. So here's okay. First of all, I gotta say, Rob Schneider, if that's your real name.
Is that the
Why does your league?
Rob Schneider? Is that the SNL guy?
Yes, yeah. If
I've met him
why do
actually. He's a
leagues
Bay
go into
Area
week
guy.
18? Why do leagues go to week 18? I don't understand it. Like the 2-week playoff thing, I don't understand in fantasy football, and then the week 18 thing. So if hopefully you're not the commissioner and you don't take this personally, but if you are, change it. The week 18 thing, there's always going to be teams that tank. It's so hard. You could put together a magnificent roster and then just have it plucked to pieces week 18 and you lose your fantasy league because you didn't have any players to play.
I don't get it. First of all, I've never played in a league where they went to week 18. Have you?
No.
Yahoo doesn't, or at least didn't. I don't know if they still don't, but I'm in the consolation bracket, and I think I got bumped. But no, I mean,
yeah, Niners Worldwide says you can do it. You can do it. He's that guy.
Yes. Rob Schneider's actually a great guy. He I used to go to one of the clubs that he owned on 11th Street in the city. It was called the DNA Lounge. So I'm there one night. This was an amazing night in the 90s. And they had a band called Groove Line, and they sang a lot of a lot of 70s dance stuff, right? And Gloria Gaynor and all that kind of stuff. And it was a great place to go, great drinks. One night, Rob Schneider owned it with Chris Farley, the late Chris Farley. Remember Chris Farley?
Yeah, oh yeah, Chris Farley
was one of our favorites. All of a sudden, you hear the music, the DJ scratches the record, and Chris Farley jumps on the stage, and he's like, they were playing Gloria Gaynor, "I Will Survive," and he gets into his character from SNL, the motivational speaker, and he's like, he goes, "I will survive in a van down by the river," and the place went crazy. Man, those guys had fun.
Farley, man, gosh, Farley was one of the best. He was so good, so good.
And Chris Farley's brother was at Second City for years and years in Chicago, which is an awesome comedy, kind of like an SNL, but it's on the north side on, I think, Division. And it's just if you ever get to Chicago, go check out Second City. Fish and Chips is LK, excellent in the locker and presser, but okay. Well, I'm not sure what your butt is. Tina's got a big old butt. Shane Cooley says, I like the idea of our snub players having something to be pissed about in the playoffs. Seriously, I was thinking about that as well. And somebody else said that to me. It was like, hey, you know what? Some of these guys, they live for the chip on their shoulder, and maybe being denied the Pro Bowl might not be the worst thing. I don't know. I mean, how long? I mean, pro athletes are always looking for some sign of disrespect as a motivational tool. If Greenlaw or Ayuk or anybody wants to use, you got snubbed for the Pro Bowl as some motivator, God bless you. Right? I mean, come on.
Whatever slight, whatever edge, whatever, anything you can pull. If this frustrates you and this makes you want to be better, by all means, use all the motivation you can get.
The Ryan G. Hensley Show, member for 7 months. A little clap there. Member for you. He says, Larry, come on my show. Ryan, this is a phone. See it? I've got the flashlight on because it's kind of dark in my studio. This is a phone. Call me, bro. You want me on your show? Call me. I'll come on. You got to remember this. I never blocked you. You blocked me and my kid. If you want me on your show, pick up the phone, call me and invite me or text me. I'll show up. I always do. Every time you've invited me, I've been on. Fish and Chips is like Hensley, respect for fans, knowledge, 0. What? Wait. Am I reading that wrong? Like Hensley, respect for fans, knowledge, 0. Oh, come on. You're saying I don't respect fans' knowledge? I do. I absolutely do. Brother Bob says, I would let it go once you admit you were wrong about BA. He didn't even make the Pro Bowl. All I said was I was disappointed that he had 2 touchdowns after 8 weeks. What's there to be wrong about? It was an opinion about being disappointed. Gammon Brown. Nug 1. If anyone plays League of Legends on #NA.
These
Damn
you guys
Yeah.
are so funny. You guys go off on your own random. It's like you'll get a
What is
super
that?
chat, and then
What
somebody
is
else
that?
is talking. I have no idea, and then they just go back and forth. I love it. I'm so
Gavin was
lost.
just on
I'm
last
so
night.
lost.
Oh,
He's saying
Gavin.
if people play League of Legends, that's his name, I think, on League of Legends. But I don't know what the NA is. I'm not sure.
Okay. Daza says, why is rust an issue? Can't they practice during this time off? They do practice and will practice. I can't even believe we're even discussing the idea of rust. This isn't baseball. There's no, you're practicing the same way you always practice. You're just not subjecting yourself to hits. I go look at the numbers too. The teams that get that rest, I think I would love to know, what do you think's more important, the rest or home field? Would you rather have the bye week and play on the road, or would you rather have play at home but no bye week? I think at this point, when you've been playing football and banging heads since training camp, I think that rest means almost more than the venue. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've brought this up as well. I mean, obviously, anybody who's been watching football as of a couple of years ago remembers two teams used to get the bye. So if the number one seed got to choose, I think it would be interesting. Would the number one seed choose the rest in the bye, or would they choose home field advantage? If they could only get one, and then the number two seed would get whatever they didn't choose, right? So meaning the number one seed would get the home field advantage until they played the number two seed, and then the number two seed would be at home. I think that would be interesting. I think it would be team by team. I think the 49ers would take the rest because they're not afraid to go anywhere. Their brand of football does travel. So I think that they wouldn't be afraid to go anywhere. As far as rest goes, though, this is a team that is a little bit older, and we've seen them slow down at around the 5-6 week mark, and then kind of again hit a little bit of a lull before picking it back up against Washington. They can use the rest, so I think they would choose rest. As far as rust, it has been a thing. Presumably. I mean, you look at the Ravens a couple years ago, they were the clear favorite against Tennessee. They got beat after resting. You've seen teams like the San Diego Chargers with Phillip Rivers at the helm go through the same thing. So some of these teams that were the number one seeds did lose when they were heavy favorites, but those teams that happen to lose usually are the same ones that are resting the final week plus taking the bye week. The teams that play don't really run into the rest and rust issue, but I am curious to the numbers. Either way, if you're the number one seed, you are the heavy favorite in your first playoff game. I gotta imagine that if you sat out the final week of the regular season and then took the bye week, you probably still won a majority of your games because you're simply the better team.
You know what would make things so juicy is if the number one seed, forget the seedings, could pick their opponent. That would add some serious juice.
Could you imagine if you picked and then lost?
Of course.
Oh,
and not only that,
that would be great.
In some ways, you know, the way players are and coaches are, they would hate that. They would hate that. They never want to incite their opponent. But could you imagine how much more juice there would be if all of a sudden it was like, and the Niners are the number one seed in the NFC and the Ravens are the number one seed in the AFC. And you could strategically, maybe you picked a team that was good but had an injured player that you didn't want to face later on.
Let's go down this for a second. Who, if that was the thing and you could pick for the 49ers, who are you picking? I want to see if we pick the same team. Out of the teams that are in the playoffs right now. So Tampa's in there, the Eagles are in there, the Rams are in there, Green Bay's in there, and then we know the Lions in Dallas. So of those teams, who are you taking?
Gosh. I would take Tampa.
They've
already beaten Tampa.
Yeah.
But if I didn't take Tampa, I'd take Dallas.
Really? Oh,
I fear Detroit,
that's a good one.
Philly, and the Rams more than Dallas. The Niners have ownership on
Interesting.
Dallas, but I would definitely take Tampa. But even I wouldn't want to be in that position, because why would you want to incite your opponent? Now you've got like a motivated, but it would add juice. It would add juice.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah,
I mean,
it would.
the
I would
Niners
take.
chose this team and lost.
Yeah, I would. I would take. I would probably take Tampa as well, but after that, it would be the Eagles. It would be the Eagles.
See, that's another one. That's another one. It's like, I can't really decide what the Eagles are. Are the
Yeah.
Eagles the team that was in the NFC Championship game and they just kind of hit a rough patch at the end of the year and they can get back to that point? Or are the Eagles the team that could not beat the Arizona Cardinals last week at home? And Jordan Davis, you saw Baldinger calling Jordan Davis out of shape, and they don't have a great secondary. Their pass D is kind of bad. Their linebackers can be exposed. But Philly's got an awful lot of, I don't know, man. You're asking, Hurts and Devontae and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert and really good offensive line, 2 future Hall of Famers, maybe 3. I don't know, man. I if somebody else knocks off Philly, I'd be very happy. I'll be happy when Philly's gone. I definitely be Tampa, but Dallas to me is the one. I think the Niners own Dallas. I think
Philly.
Dallas doesn't believe that they can beat the Niners.
Yeah, Philly is. I think they're shot, man. I think they're absolutely shot. But we'll see. We'll see.
I know a lot of people feel that way. Paul Sassenberger, do you guys plan on coming out to Vegas if the Niners go to the Super Bowl? Kevin,
You got to be there. That. You got to be there. You get press passes, man. You got to go. You have to go.
Gosh, I might even want to go, even if I didn't stay for the game. You know what I mean?
Just to be around it.
Just to be there during that week and the parties and all the festivities. I mean, Vegas that would be fun. I mean, Vegas for 5 days and then get on a plane and fly home and watch the game at home.
I took it in 2019 in Miami because I had just moved to Tampa the year prior, and Miami's like a 4.5-hour drive. So I went and stayed there the week of the game and then watched the Super Bowl in Miami. It was good. Yeah. If you haven't done it, I would say definitely.
You were in Miami for Niners KC?
Yeah, I wasn't at the game, but I was in Miami taking everything in, and yeah, it was a good time.
Like New Orleans would be a great place to go. I mean, definitely worth going. Here's the question, and this is I don't know how you feel about this. Do you feel that you have a better viewpoint of the game? Because I mean, if the Niners are in the Super Bowl, man, you want the best viewpoint you can possibly have, right? Do you feel like you have a better viewpoint on the game sitting on the 50-yard line at the game or on the couch? Big screen TV, replays.
Man. I mean, you get replays in the stadium too.
Yeah, but you can't hear it. You don't get the analysis unless you're listening to the radio, I guess.
Which is kind of nice. I would say if you're like 50-yard line and you're up a little bit, if you're down there, I mean, the players are so tall, sometimes you can't really see, like, make out what's going on. But if you're up a little bit, maybe like the first row, the second level, or kind of back near that first level, I think that's the way to go, because you still get the replays in the stadium, but you really get to see everything play out in front of you. I mean, that's why the all-22 is so important, right? Because you form this opinion based off of what you see on TV. And I mean, there's been thousands of times, it feels like, where I really thought I knew what happened in a play. You watch the replay, you think you have it figured out, and then you see the all-22 and you're like, didn't know that guy was over there. Had no idea that was happening. So,
you didn't see a guy fall down.
Yeah,
guy fell down on the back end. I'll say this, from just working in football and watching the coaches copy the sideline, what they call sideline wide, end zone wide. And if you get the combo film, you get every play twice, right? You get the sideline wide, then here it comes from the end zone wide, then it's the next play. I would love, and I think it's the future of football television. At some point, we're all going to be able to pick everything we want. Do you want, because like for me, I don't need 75 goddamn close-ups of Nick Sirianni's face. I just don't. That's a waste of time. I don't care that much about Nick Sirianni or Shanahan or any of these guys. There's a reason that people obsess on the quarterback and the head coach. It's because television copy shows you the play and then a close-up of the quarterback, of the play and then a close-up of the head coach. if I could have what I wanted, I would like to have the announcers and sideline wide and
Yeah.
replays on end zone wide. So like if a run play, somebody gashes somebody, give me the end zone wide angle on it and give me the sideline wide. If I could pick my own broadcast, I would go sideline wide and eliminate the close-ups. I don't need the close-ups. I think the close-ups are about, I don't know what it's about really, the drama or the soap opera, but it's not about football. That's for sure. If you could pick any angle to watch the game, what would you? Because like I don't really feel like I've seen it when I'm at the game. I come home and I want to watch the TV copy because I've seen the coverage, but I don't hear any of the analysis, and I'm not getting the replays, and I'm also not getting the real close-ups. So I'm on the binoculars, but even then I got to choose. Do I want to hone in on the line of scrimmage, or do I want to, hone in on the perimeter? I usually hone in on the line of scrimmage, but I don't really feel like I've seen the game until I go home and watch it on TV.
Yeah, that sideline view to me, like that bird's eye view where you can kind of see it all from the sideline. That's the one. That's the one for me, because sideline even when wide. When you get the end zone wide, I still feel like there's some things that you're not picking up on in the trenches. Like you can kind of see the back end of the trenches, but you don't know what's going on the other side. I feel like that sideline wide is where you see it all. You really see it all.
If people also saw the sideline wide and the end zone wide, everybody would have a much better feeling for why teams don't go for it more on fourth down, because the spacing is just very difficult to make a big play and gash somebody for more than 7 or 8 yards. Especially if they know you've got to complete a pass for a first down. Those windows are tight. It's not easy. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Brian says, love your channel. Smash the like button. Doesn't this give Shanahan plenty of time to install and practice new offensive deployment? Well, it absolutely does. I'll tell you, I saw a college punt return the other day where it was basically the coach had devised a total deke. Like they had two punt returner. They had a guy, the punt returner faked like it was a punt return from the left sideline, and in reality, the guy caught the punt on the other side of the field and had like a 60-yard return to the 20 because everybody fell for the fake because they went with the punt returner. And the guys who are running down they know what direction it's supposed to go, but they're reacting to the punt returner. So if the punt returner moves 20 feet to the left and starts looking up, they're going to hone in on him. Mm-hmm. And if the punt actually goes to the right, so it's like I always wondered, man, why wouldn't you take this extra time and devise something elaborate? But they're very conservative. Coaches are very conservative in nature. They don't really try to do too much.
And once you get to the playoffs, everybody pretty much knows what's going to happen for the most part. You may get a trick play here or there, but it's really it's lining up. It's your best versus our best. Who's better? You know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen for the most part. Who can execute? And that's what it comes down to.
Then there's the other one on the punt return that's great is when you have the wedge and the wedge sets deep and right in front of the punt returner. Let's say the kickoff returner, I should say, and all of a sudden you got two guys emerging from the wedge, acting like they have the ball running in different directions. Somebody's going to go with the fake. If anything, I'm surprised they don't try to fool each other more. It's almost like a code where they just say, we're just going to play it straight. Master Any Craft says the Pro Bowl should be 2 weeks after the Super Bowl, or it should be played in the spring. Well, you can't play it in the spring. Could you imagine? Months later, here comes the Pro Bowl. But maybe I'm old school, but I like the Pro Bowl. First of all, there's no reason to ever play any football game without intensity. So I'm cool with them eliminating the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl should be a designation. To me, the way they're doing the Pro Bowl now is fine, but it should be after the season. And if you shouldn't be penalized. that you don't get to go to the Pro Bowl with your family and kids in Honolulu or wherever they're going to have it because they're going to play it between the NFC Championship game and the AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. Play that thing when the season's done. It's an exhibition. Now it's not even a real game. It's just kind of a paid vacation. Don't take the guys who are on the Super Bowl teams and make them miss the paid vacation, right? I always felt like it seemed like a great, cool gift for the guys who the season was over. I mean, I don't know. I like it after the year.
Yeah, after the year, I think because the Super Bowl players don't get to play in it, of course, so that's kind of a bummer. That's why you have to have so many alternates, by the way. But I don't know. Whatever. It's the Pro Bowl. I'm going to the Pro Bowl because my son loves it, so I'm taking him. But
my kid loves the Pro Bowl. Your kid loves the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
It's a kid's game.
That's true.
I always used to joke that real football.
I like the skill challenges when I was a kid, though. Like you'd get Steve Young and Aikman and all these guys, and then Mark Brunell, and then they would throw at the targets down the field with the blue chalk on the end of the ball. I loved that.
I love that too. And it really shows how accurate some of the best accurate throwers are. I would definitely like the Pro Bowl after the year, but it's a kid's game. I always used to joke on the radio because it's the same day as the Senior Bowl that the real football fans are watching the Senior Bowl. But then that also rubbed people wrong. Brother Bob says Will Smith would say, "Keep my name out of your mouth." Yeah, Chris Rock should have hit Will Smith. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Somebody comes up on stage and smacks you for nothing? Should have been a little retaliation there. Matthew Sanders, nails don't sweat them. Small minds have small minds. There you go.
No, I'm not tripping. I'm just saying, like, you take a shot at my manhood. Like, let's figure that out then. Let's see how that goes for you. That's where I'm at with it.
Purdy Prophet, you take shots like a sorority chick, though. Well, there you go. There's your opinion. Brother Bob, Purdy's pimp, you're way nicer and calm with Grant. Be real. Grant and I just don't really get into anything besides football. That's really the real thing. And also, Grant and I see each other 2-3 days a week, and we can hash things out face to face. And I feel like I'm a face to face guy. I like to hash things out face to face. Keith Murphy says, I can speak on Jesse. I have minimal subs now, and I appreciate your support, Jesse. Go Niners. I think he meant speak, right?
Yeah, speak. Yeah. He's talking about his channel. I appreciate you, man. You've always supported me, but yeah, I mean, you ask anybody. I support the community. I don't just talk about it. It's not just fluff. Like, I go out of my way and try to support people because people support me and I appreciate it.
Seriously, everybody's got to start somewhere. I went on everybody's channel that ever asked me to go on for like a year and a half until it just got overwhelming. And then I kind of pick and choose a little bit, but I still try to go on as many channels as possible just because, hey, you know what? We all start at the bottom and it takes a while to build these things up. And I'll say this, I admire the people who go and do this because, as you know, Jesse, and as anybody who does this knows, this is a grind. And we got to lift each other up on some level because even though we're all doing it for fun and we're having fun, it still doesn't change the fact that this is a grind. Italian Niner _Vito, member for 2 months. Faithful loves you, Jesse. Keep up the great work.
Appreciate you.
Keith Murphy says, thank you, Jesse, for popping on my live with like 4 people. Meant a lot to me. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Means a lot to me that you're here all the time, Keith. So thank you.
I mean, that's really cool. Was that this week or recently? Or was that way back?
Yeah, a couple nights ago.
Yeah, that's cool. Fish and Chips says, Jesse has more cred than all 49er content creators on YouTube, period. Look at that. Fish and Chips, very much a fan.
Thank you.
Frank Tom Ocean, LK, Grant, and Jesse Rock. DB is the worst, though. That's the kind of the beauty of this thing. I feel like unlike television or radio where it's very confined, we're here a lot and it's a little bit more organic. So you can kind of decide for yourself who you like, who you don't like, who you respect, who you don't respect, who's fronting and doesn't really have knowledge, who can't back it up, who can speak off the cuff, who can't, whose points are consistent. I used to say all the time, anybody could be awesome on the radio for a day, for a week. Can you be good for months and years? Can you have some I don't know, code that so you're not just contradicting yourself daily? I think over time, I think people get found out on this thing. Brother Bob says Purdy's profit, and that's what I'm calling it from now on. Being on with DB, you're supporting his stupidity. Him and I go way, way, way back, and there's a lot to it. Brother Bob says, yeah, I've told you I like Kev way more than you. Okay.
Well, he's not going to talk bad about Kevin. That's good. I bet you'd be a lot more hot if he was actually talking bad about Kevin than he was you.
If it makes you feel better, I like Kevin more than me too. Keith Murphy says, both you gentlemen are Republicans people. I don't rock with everybody. My opinion may differ on some of your takes, but both of you always are genuine, in my opinion. That's the other
thing. Genuine, man. That's
the other thing too. It's like the one thing you're not going to hear on my channel, politics, race, religion. Not that I don't have opinions on everyone, all those things like everybody else. But you know what? You're here because sports. You're here because the same reason I'm here. Sports is a diversion.
Is the outlet,
from that. You know what I mean? And it's like I did a lot of radio shows with people who didn't understand that, and they constantly wanted to talk about those other topics. And I'd say, hey, you know what? People are coming to us because they're running away from that dialogue. Can we at least give them a safe haven where we may disagree, it may even get juicy, but can we at least just talk about sports? And that's the way I used to like to run my radio show. And that's, if you know my channel, I don't talk about those other topics on here, and I do it for a reason. It's not accidental. 69ers, Larry is like a father figure to me. I'm 69. Thank you. Great. I'm like a much older father figure. I don't know. I don't know if I ever told you this. One time my late father was in the hospital. He was very sick, Jesse. And he looked terrible. Absolutely terrible, right? I mean, he had tubes coming out. And the nurse, like, I'll walk you to his room. And I'm like, okay. I'm a little scared because I'm afraid to see my dad in this shape, and I don't want to burst into tears. And she, as we're walking to his room, she's like, she goes, is he your brother? I said, my brother? I almost lost it right there. I'm like, he was born in 1937. I was born in 1970. My brother?
Oh man!
I'm like, yeah, I know I don't look the greatest today, but come on, my brother. She's like, I'm so sorry. That was the one that killed me. John Chisari says, love the Niner content you guys provide. I agree with how Kyle is handling week 18. Get healthy and get after it come January. Yeah. Larry Ayuk is earning the big deal. No doubt. Great player too. He is a great player. And he's a much better player, in my opinion, top to bottom, than Puka Nacua. Nakua's had a phenomenal rookie year. Don't get me wrong. But Nacua knows how to sit in a soft spot in a zone and catch ball after ball after ball after ball after ball. He doesn't have the skill set of Brandon Ayuk. He doesn't run across the middle and make these amazing catches and take huge monster hits. He doesn't have that ability to block tenaciously like a tight end down the field. He doesn't have the ridiculous long arms that he stands 6'1", but he plays 6'4". I mean, he doesn't run the same kind of courageous routes and across the middle without ever flinching. I mean, Ayuk is better than Puka. That's the other reason that it kind of bugs me that Ayuk's not a Pro Bowler and Puka is. He's just better. I mean, I love Puka, and I would have loved the Niners to grab him, but Puka is a possession receiver. Ayuk is much more than that. I mean, that's how I see it. I don't know how you
Yeah,
see it.
you get like the Welkers and the Edelmans and Cooper Cup. They're good. They're very good. But when people start throwing them in the top 5, it's like, are they really that? I mean, they put up a lot of accumulative numbers, which is awesome. But if you're drafting wide receivers to be your number one guy, are you drafting those guys ahead of, the Devontae Adams, the Jeffersons, the Chases? No, I'm not. So I agree.
We got a few more here. Keith the Unbeaten. I miss Farley and Bernie Mac, my faves. Yeah, Bernie Mac gone way too early. I just saw that Mr. 3000 a couple weeks ago. I love Bernie Mac. Green Glass Full. Did you ever see Mr. 3000?
Yeah, I did.
He gets 3,000 hits, and then they realize that it doesn't have 3,000 hits. He's got to get in shape. He would that one of my favorites. Green Glass Full. Brother Bob is a troll. What is the controversy? It's easy to see how weak and silly pundits like Cohn, etc. are. It's not rocket science. All right, whatever. Everybody's got their opinion. Niner bang. Brock Purdy number one yard in season. Then Garcia. Oh, number one passing yards in a single season over Jeff Garcia. Easy achievement? Question mark.
If I would say easy. It would have been broken forever ago. What I will say is I don't think it's an impressive. The stat isn't impressive in today's NFL. It was like the 132nd best season in passing yards, right? And somehow the Niners, who have all these great quarterbacks, they were like 26th as far as their franchise record. But what is impressive is that Purdy did it in year 2, and that this record was there for as long as it was. How? I don't know. But Purdy doing it in year 2, you got to give him his kudos for that. But the number itself, compared to other teams' records, not that impressive. It's not.
Several of these offensive records have to be. I don't want to say that they're not worthy of being celebrated, but let's at least provide the context of there have been several rules changes in the NFL in the last 15 years. All of them have favored offense. So just factor that in. I mean, Joe Montana got absolutely knocked out by Leonard Marshall and was gone for like 2 years. Yeah. That couldn't happen today. And that kind of a hit is not even allowed today. So it's just, it's a different game. It's a different game for sure. Not to take anything away from anybody. Brock Purdy's had a great year. I mean,
no. Well, and again, let me be clear. What Brock Purdy doing it in year 2, very impressive for Brock. I'm just saying the fact that record stood for as long as it did is not impressive, because the number overall is not that impressive for a franchise record, is what I'm saying. But for Brock to do it year 2 on the amount of attempts, I mean, come on, man. That's pretty dangerous.
God knows they've had some disaster quarterbacks too through the years. Yeah. We've all, suffered through it. Niner bang. Did he just do that one again? Yeah, he did it again. Niner bang. BP number 1 in yards in the season. Then Garcia, easy achievement.
Yeah.
So, hey, thanks for the donation.
Twice. We'll answer it again. I was kidding.
There you go. Brother Bob, didn't you say Brandon Ayuk had many drops, not open, won't get not open, won't get cash? Is that a cash bag?
Yeah, I think so.
How they define drops and not what are not drops. I mean, I'm thinking of balls that hit him in the hands that he didn't catch. Now, some of those are deemed drops. Some of those are not deemed drops. And I don't know exactly. I would say the actual drop number should be higher than the recorded drop number. To me, when a ball hits you in the hands, you should catch it if you're a receiver. But there are several of the balls that hit him in the hands that he didn't catch that aren't actually considered drops in the statistical way. So that's how we got to a different agreement or different understanding of what drops were. Green Glass Full cannot stand you either, Jesse.
Listen, brother. Wait, no. He has something here, because I've said that about him. But my thing is you're like hiding behind a picture that is not of you. Nobody knows who you are. And you come into chats and spew like the most outlandish personal stuff. So Feelings very mutual, Green Glass Full. Very mutual.
Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says of any NFC team, IDGAF, Jesse, LOL.
You don't care. Yeah. No, I don't. Why would you? The 49ers. All right. I'm going to present this scenario to you real quick, Larry.
What's he saying here? Can you define this.
I don't give an F. Basically. Yeah.
Of any NFC team, I don't give an F, Jesse. LOL.
Yeah, I think what he's saying is, my point was earlier that I just don't care about any of these teams. Like, I don't think that any of them are a serious threat to the 49ers. So I found it interesting that the 49ers, after losing to the Ravens, were still the Super Bowl favorite. But when I really started to parse it out and think it through, it made a ton of sense, because you look at the path to the Super Bowl, the 49ers should go through the NFC pretty easily. But if I said, hey, the Browns make it to round 2 and they beat the Ravens, be like, yeah, that was an upset, but I don't think you would be overly shocked. You're like, oh, they got a good defense. Joe Flacco's playing out of his mind. It is a division game, third time playing.
Last time the Ravens were the number 1 seed and Lamar was the MVP, they got bounced in the first round.
Yeah. So you can see them losing, or if Josh Allen got hot or Patrick Mahomes at the right time, you could see them losing. So the path to the Super Bowl, I think, is much more clear for the 49ers, in my opinion. And that's how you can look at the 49ers and say, yeah, they're the favorites, even though they lost to the Ravens a couple weeks ago, because they're more likely to get there just based off of who they're going to play.
Who do you think is the toughest team in the NFC for the Niners?
Rams, just because.
Wow. Think about that.
Division game, and Stafford's the only elite quarterback in the NFC, in my opinion.
I think I would agree. I think it's the Rams. I thought it was Detroit, but Detroit's like 23rd in the NFL in pass D. Now, if the Lions get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back, and I think they're going to, maybe they get better there. But I would say Rams too. The Rams can score 30. That's scary, because that means 1 or 2 bad bounces turnover-wise, and they can beat you. They can score 30. Those weapons they have are legit. Kyron's legit. The tight end's legit. The O-line's better than it was. Stafford is really good. Puka and Kupp are unbelievable. Tutu's a burner of the highest order. Rams are scary. If the Rams get a defense, the Rams are going to be the number 1 contender to the Niners in the next few years.
They've got about $40 million. They got all their draft picks. I mean, they can get there pretty quick. Yeah. They can.
It's scary. People have said, it's Seattle. I don't think so. I think it's the Rams. I think I've got more respect for McVay and Les Snead. Fish and Chips, do you agree with JTO about Debo's effort off the ball? Kev sent me the JT O'Sullivan quarterback school, the latest on Purdy, and I haven't gone through it yet. I'm going to go through it later. Is in the latest one? Did you see it? Is he making a point about Debo's effort off the ball?
I haven't seen his latest one, but he does often talk about Debo. Yeah, he does.
Does he say that his effort off the ball is not good?
Yeah, I think that it's kind of a known thing. I mean, there are times that you can point to where he does show a lot of effort and does block well, but he talked about it. He even said his effort off the ball wasn't great. And then Shanahan addressed it this year. So it's not like this unknown thing. I mean, the team has talked about it openly, even this season. So it is one of those things that he's got to improve in. That's where I think Ayuk separates. Both are great in their own right, but Ayuk is tenacious. I mean, Debo breaks a long one. Ayuk is always blocking for him. CMC breaks a long one. Ayuk is always blocking for him. I can't say the same for Ayuk. If Ayuk breaks a long one, I'm saying, If Ayuk breaks a long one, the Debo is not necessarily the one that's opening the floodgates. I'm not saying it doesn't ever happen, but most of the time he's not the catalyst that's blocking deep downfield. And, that can be a little disappointing when you look at BA, give all the effort in the world the way that he does. But on the flip side, Debo also plays a bit of running back. And how much of a toll does that take on your body? How many car crashes can you get in a game? How you have to kind of decide, all right, well, when I get the ball, I play a physical brand. I really can only get into 10 car crashes a game. I can't be blocking downfield every single time either. I just don't have it in me. So it is a give and take.
Shanahan describes CMC as the best player he's ever seen away from the ball, without the ball in his hands. So I wonder if he's celebrating that as a motivator to Debo to, hey, be like that. But I will say this. I really feel like if the Niners got into a big playoff game, you win, you move on, you lose, you go home, the Super Bowl, I think the receivers on the Niners block for the backs, and I think the backs on the Niners block for the receivers. I haven't seen a blatant, nothing like what George Pickens did the other day where he jumped out of the way and he looked like he had total disdain for blocking. Debo's got the bulk and the ability to do it. Is he as passionate about it as Ayuk and CMC? I would probably say no, but I'd have to watch more film to actually sit there and say definitively. And I haven't studied that, but I will
sometimes
watch.
too.
I will start
He doesn't
watching more
carry
for that.
He doesn't carry out his fakes sometimes. Is really where JTO I've seen in the past talk about it, where you kind of get those orbit screens or potential orbit screens, and he's kind of jogging through it, knowing he's not going to get the ball. And so the defense doesn't key on him the way that they maybe could if he would sell it a little better. So I think that's some of the stuff he's talking about as well.
Beats and Meats says, I saw a stat that said teams who had the first round bye and rested their quarterback on the last game of the regular season, of those teams, only 3 reached the Super Bowl and only 1 team won the Super Bowl, the Chiefs against the Niners. That is interesting.
But I wonder how many times it's happened though, too. That's the other
can't
part.
be a big number. It can't be a big number, but that is interesting. I have no problem. I have no problem with the Niners' decision to do that. John Sorry says, boy, I don't care who the 49ers play. If they're healthy, nobody in the NFC holds a candle to the 49ers. Whip ass, take names, win the Super Bowl.
I agree.
I kind of agree with that too. I think
Beats and Meat says it's happened 8 times, so they've won the Super Bowl once. So then I'll say on the flip side, out of the 57 Super Bowls that have been played, you've got maybe 2 or 3 that have been won by backup quarterbacks. So that's the risk, right? You can't lose Purdy and expect Sam Darnold to come in and win a Super Bowl. You really need him if you're going to try to win one. So, you just got to figure it out.
Shanahan's reasoning is solid. He played well in Jacksonville after. To me, the other thing with Purdy is I thought the best arm strength that Purdy showed this year was in the Jacksonville game. And if that's that extra arm strength to a guy that has arm strength that's not at the top of the tier, maybe matters. And I would like to see him with increased arm strength. I also think Brock Purdy's such a studious, devoted player, and he's so about football that he's not going to slack off during this time. And so what you're really just protecting him from are the hits. And he's such a kind of a wannabe tough guy. And I'm not saying he's not tough, but he's a smaller bodied guy that you're almost protecting him from himself. He's willing to take hits that he shouldn't be willing to take. I mean, he took a few in this Commanders game. Remember that one that he threw out of bounds on the sidelines in the first half? He took a hit there. He got thrown to the ground and took a hit. And he took that hit just for what? For no reason at all. So he's the kind of guy that takes more hits than he probably should take just because he's...
just to clear it up, too, because, you got to be in the locker room. What you meant was he is a tough guy, but he's got a small frame, and so you do have to protect him from himself.
Yeah, he's not... I don't know about durability. He's like more willing to take on hits than he probably should. Let's just say that. 69ers,
that's a lot of the 49ers, though, really. Yeah.
Oh, Kittle. I mean, look at Kittle. Kittle took that terrible hit in the Ravens game to the hammy, and he went out for one play. He's like, I'm back in. That's their culture.
Yeah.
69er says, what was the moment you fell in love with football? Ooh, for me, it's hard to say, but I would say I watched the first Super Bowl I ever watched was Super Bowl 11, Raiders beating the Vikings, and I think it was Jack Tatum or or George Atkinson blowing up Sammy White in the middle of the field. That was a great moment. But I would probably say Super Bowl 13 when the Cowboys beat the Steelers 35-31, or when the Steelers beat the Cowboys 35-31. And it was just an epic Staubach, Bradshaw, Stallworth, Swan, incredible, Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, Hollywood Henderson, Bradshaw. I mean, just it seemed larger than life. I would say Super Bowl 13 was that moment for me.
Yeah, I mean, the moment for me was, I was probably 4, 5. My dad was a huge 49er fan. And so I just remember watching him cheer for the 49ers. And I didn't really, I was young. I didn't get the concept yet. And I remember I thought the 49ers were playing because a red team was playing. It was actually Kansas City. And I was rooting for them. I'm like, yeah, go 49ers. And my dad correcting me, like, no, that's not the 49ers. I'll show you the 49ers when they're playing, type of thing. And so for me, that memory will always be there as to like the first time that I actually cared about football. And it was because my dad was a fan. And then obviously I developed the fandom as well. So, for me, and I think a lot of people really can pin their father or father figure being a fan, and that's how you became a fan. And so I think a lot of people can probably resonate with that.
Yep. The coach is in the house. What's up, Coach? If I had it my way, I'd take the wide view, one commentator, a former player, back tight view for run plays, Enron's wide view for replays, done. The entire NFL would be seen in a different light. It's so funny. We're talking about different broadcasts and different points of view. Someday I really believe we'll all be able to choose, and there will be like standard fare that you'll be able to choose.
I think we're there. I want to say that you can now, or
well, you can on the MLB
coming
baseball
up close. Yeah.
On the MLB baseball app, you can pick do you want television announcers, radio announcers? Do you want home radio, road radio, road television, home television? So on their thing, you can. I'll tell you, did you watch any of I was talking to Sam Womack today about Toledo against Wyoming in the whatever bowl that was. Did you watch that game at all? It was, and the only reason I asked, because it was the Barstool broadcast. And
I actually turned it on, and they had the big Barstool thing at the 50. I was like, oh, that thing is way too big.
Big Cat.
And then I turned it off.
And the CEO, what's his name for Barstool? God, why is his name? The guy who does the pizza stuff,
Yeah, but is he even? I thought he sold off a big portion. Is he still there as a CEO type of thing? And
well, I don't know, but he I forget why is his name eluding me? He's a major guy. Anyway, the main guy for Barstool and Big Cat, and they had a regular play-by-play guy. But I'll tell you, man, I really enjoyed it. Now I watched it with my 14-year-old, and I just don't need every game that I watch. Now I wouldn't want this in a meaningful game, but if you're just going to give me a random bowl game, I liked the kind of the fun. Let's have, there was an offensive lineman that scored a touchdown, and they kept calling it a fat guy touchdown. And one guy was like, I need the spread, I need to cover. It was really like irreverent and not anything like a normal broadcast. But I really enjoyed it. I don't know if anybody else saw that, but that might be the future of broadcast, that you could have kind of a fun. The guys aren't breaking it down, but you're having fun. Uh-oh, we just lost Jesse. Maybe Jesse will pop back in. But I liked it. I liked the Barstool broadcast of the game. I thought it was a really entertaining way to watch the game. Thought it was incredible. Jesse said his computer came up with an error and is restarting. Okay, no sweat. We'll roll through a few of these. But if anybody saw I think it was just called the Barstool Bowl. I think maybe it had some other name as well. But I liked it. I really liked it. Now, it's not your standard broadcast, right? And it wasn't like an NFL game. It wasn't like your regular college broadcast. It wasn't like an ABC or an ESPN broadcast, but it was different and it was fun. I liked it. Now, as long as I don't really care that much about the game, that makes it easier. So a bowl game between Toledo and Wyoming is a perfect spot for it. But I liked it. I thought it was I could see, like, one of the guys, I guess Big Cat is kind of a comedian. Portnoy. That's it. Dave Portnoy. So it's Portnoy, Big Cat, and a regular play-by-play guy. And I don't know if the play-by-play guy was great or anything, but he was good. I mean, I enjoyed it. You're back with us. I was just saying that
it was like air and then just shut down. I've never seen that.
Really? It's something that's happened a couple times to me. But I was just saying, I wouldn't want that for like a big game, but for just like having fun in a bowl game, I think there's room for, it's like, to me, it opened my eyes to be like, you know what? This could be the future where you could pick football broadcasters or you could pick like a comedian. I mean, Big Cat's kind of a comedian. Portnoy is the executive. He was having fun.
Portnoy, there you go.
Dave Portnoy. And then the play-by-play guy was a play-by-play guy, but it wasn't, they were just, I don't know. It was different. It was like an alternative broadcast. But you know what? We have the Manning. Do you watch the Monday night game with the Manning cast?
I don't. Vish does. Vish says he watches it. I'm pretty sure it's Vish that told me he watches only them when the games are on Monday, which is interesting. I never have.
I mean, it's kind of more like a hang than a broadcast.
Yeah,
I'll give you that, but it's still, I liked it. I really enjoyed it. Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says Philly is Fugazi.
Agree.
Yeah. Green Glass Full. What dough is Jesse's favorite?
I don't even understand the question.
I don't know. What's that even about?
I have no idea.
I have no idea. JSOTR 33. Is this the year the 49ers get their sixth? Oh my God, it better be. It better be. Come on.
I hope so.
God,
I hope so.
If it isn't this year, it's going to be a rough off season. It's going to be a rough off season. Would you agree everything is aligned for them? I mean, you got home field, you got a quarterback, you're going to have rest. The tackling and the run D, I think, is tied to the rest. The NFC's not big time. So it's like there's a very good chance they're going to get to the bowl. If they don't get to the bowl, I'm going to be really, really disappointed. If they get to the bowl and lose it, I'm going to be really disappointed, but lesser because there's some really damn good teams in the AFC. If they lose to the Browns, that's going to bug me too. Come on, it's the Browns. They haven't.
It's got to happen this year. It's got to happen this year, man.
Please
it really
let it be
does.
this year.
Yeah.
Brother Bob, Nails, I respect you. Get that money. Here's another $2.
Thanks, bro.
There you go. Brother Bob, once upon a time, you respected me. Can we get to that? Can we get to that point again? Is it possible? Daz says TV coverage is so good now that really it's only the atmosphere you miss. It will never change, but I wish the NFL had less ads and less stoppages. One of the main criticisms from foreigners. That's the other thing. In the Super Bowl, you get those commercials, and that's kind of a little bit a part of our culture and like everything. There's something to be said for that. I love going to the game, but to be honest, I always feel like when I'm doing post-game shows, I don't know how you feel about this. When I'm at the game, I sometimes have to get important data from people who were not at the game and who were watching on TV. That seems backwards to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you guys are pretty high up though in the booth too. Like you got to pull out the binoculars and do the whole. Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. And I got to say too, when I'm at games, it's hard for me to kind of remember the flow of the game, and it's why. Well, on top of you want to get a video out quick, but it's why I'll do a short video from the stadium. It's like I can't intelligently break down what I just saw because you got the crowd cheering and you're high-fiving and you're doing the fan thing, which is very different. When you're at home, it's like, okay, you're in the comfort of your home, you're writing things down or tweeting them out so they kind of stay in your memory banks. But when you're there, it's like you see it the one time, that's it. you got the drunk guy next to you spilling beer, you're high-fiving him, and that's the way it goes. So it's just a different atmosphere.
It is different. It's different. Salvador Brybieska. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too bad, Salvador. He says, weeks like this is why the NFL needs to expand rosters and have B teams. Both teams have playoff spots. Imagine B team players elevated filling in for guys. How about this? When you clinch, eliminate all the rules about practice squad promotion. Like the Niners should be able to empty their practice squad. There's 16 guys. They should be able to take 16 guys and put them in the game if they want in week 18 if they've clinched. I know the NFL doesn't like that, but I feel strongly about that.
I would say, yeah, the more the merrier. The more the merrier.
I would love it if they had bigger practice squads and it was a little bit more of a developmental league. Green glass full. Everyone knows Will Smith is gay. Duh.
I told you, dude's a weirdo.
Come on.
You're weird, bro. You're so weird. Like, show your face to people. You're so strange.
Come on.
I'm sorry, dude. God bless you, but you are, wow.
Brother Bob, yeah, I support you, Nails. You should still slap mofos.
I'm not slapping nobody.
69ers. If you Niners win, if you Niners win, knocks on woods, will you cry? Wow. I can't piece that together.
Oh, he's basically saying if the Niners win, will you cry? No, not at 40. Now, when I was a kid, I remember, I think it was the 90. Was it the 90 NFC Championship they lost to the Giants?
I don't know that I've ever cried over a sporting event, period.
No, I want to say when they lost to the Giants, I want to say it's 90. I was 6 and a half, 7-ish.
3-peat in the NFC Championship game?
I definitely cried when they lost. That was heartbreaking for me.
That was heartbreaking. Brother Bob, Nails, you a Republican, first Bengals, Gary, now this.
Gore, now this.
Oh, Gore.
I actually don't vote. So, no? What is it? Nonpartisan? Is that what they call it? I couldn't tell you. But he doesn't like...
You're an independent, I think is what you call yourself.
Is that what it is? I don't know. I don't
Bengals,
vote. So there's that.
Now this.
But my Bengals take, he's so I said before the season that it would be the Bengals and Niners in the Super Bowl, and I thought the Bengals would win the Super Bowl. And then on my show last night, what's that?
What's the Gore take?
I don't think Gore's a Hall of Famer, or should be a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. If I was
that's
putting players
controversial
in the Hall of Fame, I would say Gore wouldn't get in.
I would say Gore's got to get in after Roger Craig.
It has to be.
That's
the
how
thing
I feel about
is Gore was fantastic, but
he's the third leading rusher in the league in the history of the league.
That's true, but was he ever the guy in the league?
No.
Is there a time that you can say
Andre
Gore
Reed,
was
though? If you can have, I hear what you're saying, but we're already past that, aren't we? Andre Reed is in the Hall of Fame. Andre Reed was never one of the best receivers in football ever.
I want to say this. This is not just a Gore thing. I don't think Phillip Rivers should get in. I think Stafford is maybe. I wouldn't put Eli in. I think there's a lot of players that were very, very good, but for me, I'm not saying he won't get in.
You
and
want
if he
the Hall
does
of
get
Fame
in,
to be great, not
I
just
want it to
very
be the
good.
elite. Yes, I want it to be the elite of the elite. When I
baseball.
watched you
Want it to be
play,
more like
were
baseball.
you the best player on the field? And if you weren't for at least some period of time in your career, probably shouldn't be there.
Yeah, it bugs me that Andre Reed is in. That one bugs me. It's like Roger Craig's not in, but Andre Reed is in. Roger Craig won Super Bowls. Andre Reed didn't. Andre Reed was never the best receiver in football. Roger Craig was the MVP. Italian Niner _ Vito. I'll be moving to Vegas in 10 days. I hope we win the Super Bowl. What great Super Bowl activities are there after going to Miami, Jesse?
There's a lot of stuff, man. They do. First of all, there's parties everywhere. Don't get taken, by the way. Don't pay to get into these bars. They don't do anything special. But what I would say is they have the event. It's like they do it at an expo center somewhere near the stadium. They may even do it at the stadium because that stadium is so beautiful. But it's like 3 days leading up to the Super Bowl where you can go and meet former players, get autographs, choose whose line you want to be in, get pictures with them. You walk through, they turn it into like a locker room where you see like signatures and lockers from all the great players in the league. When I went, they had a field there and they had ex players playing flag football. It was like Mark Sanchez versus Kurt Warner's team. And you could just walk right up there and say what's up to them. And it was great. So I highly recommend doing whatever their main event is, which is usually near the stadium at some sort of expo center.
Daza drops this one. He says, who's the top 5 wide receivers in the NFL? Also, Brandon Ayuk better than CeeDee Lamb? CeeDee Lamb's pretty freaking special. I'll say this. I think the best wide receiver in football is Jamar Chase. And I would say the second best wide receiver in football is Justin Jefferson. I would say the third best wide receiver in football is Tyreek Hill. And then I'm a little open-minded. Maybe CeeDee Lamb. Throw out a few more names. There's got to be some others that I'm not thinking of.
I actually think
pretty awesome, but I mean,
I think Ayuk's better than CD. If you look at the amount of targets that CD has gotten, I mean, he's gotten so many more targets.
He's better blocker, more physical than CD. CD's an awesome player. I think CD's hand-eye coordination with the ball in the air is better. But Ayuk's got a bigger catch radius. So Ayuk's got long arms. He can go off the turf. I think Ayuk's a little bit more physical. Lamb's had such incredible production. I feel like there's somebody we're not thinking of, though. Who did we not name there? Chase, Jefferson, Hill.
I mean, I guess the question is,
somebody else we're not thinking of?
Stephon Diggs, we haven't talked about.
Diggs is pretty damn
Devontae
good.
Adams, we haven't talked about. Although
got to be in there.
He's getting a little long.
I feel like Rodgers may have made Devontae because Devontae doesn't look the same for O'Connell and Jimmy in Raiderland.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a receiver we're not thinking of. Wait a second, let me double check this.
AJ Brown. AJ Brown's in there. AJ Brown is too in there.
Brown.
No, he's in there. AJ Brown's in there for me. That's the one that I think we're probably forgetting. I also think Amon-Ra St. Brown's right there too. Yeah, I really do. If you watch Amon-Ra St. Brown play, man, he is so good. So good. He's D-Hop? Close. D-Hop's a little long in the tooth. Keenan Allen's great, but he gets injured way too often for me. Adams is getting a little older. Evans is always great. He's always going to give up 1,000, but he's kind of like I don't know, man.
What about Amari Cooper? He makes amazing catches.
Amari Cooper is the most underrated receiver in football and has been for a long time. He's very, very good. He just had 200. He's had like 3 games over 250 yards receiving in his career, something like that. It's insane. He's incredible.
I'd probably go
There's
Chase,
a lot of good ones.
Jefferson, Hill, Brown, and then it's a coin flip between CD and Ayuk.
I wouldn't have DK in there.
No, he doesn't run the full tree, and his ball skills are not that great. He can be shut down. Mooney shuts him down regularly. Yeah. Cooper makes some amazing catches.
He does.
So it's hard not to, but he's also disappears. And he's disappeared in multiple spots for years.
Yeah. He does.
Joey Mellon says Mason is going to run all over the Rams. God, thank God. I want to see, that's the other one. If Mason goes off against the Rams, do Niner fans criticize Shanahan in the postgame? I think they do.
Probably.
If a player who hasn't played all freaking year goes off when he finally gets extended run, I think that shows that he should have played at some point in some role throughout this year. Yeah. I think I expect that there'll be people critical of Shanahan if Mason has a 135-yard day and looks awesome.
I mean, I think we all know that Mason is pretty damn good and probably should have been getting carries. So I don't know that he would get criticized any more or less. I mean, I don't know.
Matthew Sanders, love to see Ward on Puka so he can see a real DB. It's funny. Mooney held court in the locker room today, and Mooney was I love Mooney because great corners have such a high opinion of themselves that it's awesome to
Mhm.
hear them talk. And he's just like he has a really high opinion of the Niners, and he's a really high opinion of himself. And I love it. It's just the name of the game. It's what comes with the territory.
Yeah, what I'll say, I mean, Mooney styles make matchups. And Mooney against some of the bigger receivers has done a pretty damn good job. I think that's more where he's at. The quick shifty receivers, I don't know if that's the matchup for him, but we'll see. I don't know if I want to see him follow around the quick shifty guys. Just whoever you match up against, that's who's in front of you. And you're going to match up against Puka or Cooper for the most part. So
no, Cooper's not playing.
no. I'm saying if they actually were to meet the Rams in the playoffs type situation.
Yeah. I was surprised how many players the Rams are not playing in this game. It kind of, that to me was like, whoa, but maybe it's consistent. McVay doesn't play, didn't play guys at all in the preseason. He believes in rest out of maybe more so than any coach in the.
They don't get the bye week. So it's huge for them. They need it. Yeah.
They need it. But maybe it's like he wants that matchup with Dallas. Maybe. I don't know. Brother Bob says, I'm almost at LAX and Purdy's prophet still yapping, hogging the mic. Thank you.
We're both. I'm talking a lot too.
No. He's talking about this. I'm way behind on these. He's talking about when I was going off when we got into the debate. Green Glass Full said, this is hilarious. The dorky nerd PC football world. Okay. Niner bang. In the run heavy Niner scheme, only elite efficiency can give 4,000 plus yards. Give Brock his flowers. That stat has been there for so long for a reason.
Run heavy none. Oh, okay. Oh, go back real quick. I want to. Let me make sure I take that one in. Give Brock. Yeah. I did. I thought I gave him his flowers. Like I said, here's my point. I think
people have.
Here's my point.
Both have really.
Brock. The point is that if Brock is the franchise quarterback and is here for, let's say, the next 5 years, I would be shocked if he doesn't break that record multiple times over. Like if that's not the 4th or 5th best season he has after 5 or 6 more seasons. That's my point. The overall number in today's league is not that impressive. And as Brock improves, I think he'll show you that 4,200 yards is not anything special. It's just not anymore.
And, he says it up front when he says, hey, it's a run heavy system. There's no question. It's a run heavy system. And there'll be a time where he beats this record. I agree. Beats and meets says, I love the Madden style sky cam. You can pick your view on college football championship games. You can pick the Homer broadcast. It's great. Yeah, on the college football, like Washington and Michigan, there's like 4 different, isn't there like 3 or 4 different broadcasts of that game? Yeah. I like the way they do that. Matthew Sanders says September 6, 1998, Garrison Hurst goes 96 yards in overtime against the Jets. I remember like it was yesterday. He says, I like the Niners, but fell in love with football aside. Bring back those gold pants. God, I remember that like it was yesterday as well. I was on the Niners sideline, beautiful sunny day, and he was gone. Garrison Hurst, in a lot of ways, is one of the greatest Niner players that's totally forgotten.
If he didn't get injured against the Falcons, I really think that they could win that Super Bowl. I really believe that in my heart. That one hurt when he got hurt against the Falcons, and they ended up upsetting the vaunted Vikings, who were 15-1 or whatever, and Anderson hadn't missed a kick all year. I really believe in that run, that 96-yard run. We talk about wide receivers blocking. Go watch that one again. T.O.'s down the field getting dirty.
T.O. was about T.O., but T.O. was also at times very much a team player.
So competitive.
And just a beast as a blocker. I mean, nobody wanted to stand there. Brother Bob says, no, Purdy prophet, you keep lying about me being a Lance lover. No, you know what strikes me as odd is how offended you get about positive Purdy talk when Purdy coming out of nowhere has saved this franchise. It's saved John Lynch. It's saved Kyle Shanahan. It's made this year pertinent. The Niners, I'll ask you, Jesse, what would the Niners record be this year if there was no Brock Purdy? That means they would either
Sam
have
Darnold was playing?
or Allen or Lance. If Brock Purdy never existed, what would the Niner record be this year? I would say.
I'll just go off of their backup, which is Sam Darnold. He's the one that's still on the team. So,
but even
Sam
if
Darnold
it was Lance,
here,
even if it was Lance, I mean, I think Lance would be better than Darnold.
no, man.
I think Lance is
honestly
better than
couldn't tell you.
Darnold. I
agree
would
with
say
that.
the Niners would be a game over 500. That would be my guess. Right about
Um,
not terrible,
I don't know
but
about
not
that.
winning.
they wouldn't be
9-8. That's what I think.
14 wins or whatever they're about to be. I don't believe that. But I mean, I think this team could win 11 games. I mean, this team's stacked, Larry.
Yeah, they are stacked.
Absolutely
They are
stacked.
stacked.
Even if
Well,
they
they wouldn't
just
have
said,
won as
hey,
easily. They wouldn't have all
it-
these. They wouldn't
I
have
agree with that. No,
nine
no, no. I agree
double-digit
with that.
wins or whatever they have.
listen, the passing record wouldn't have been broken. The streak of 30 points a game, those things probably don't happen. The impressive juggernaut style victories probably don't happen. But can this team be a playoff team in the NFC with some of those guys at quarterback? Yeah, probably. They probably could, because this team is absolutely stacked. And if nothing else, if you just said, hey, we're going to run the ball 35 times a game and throw screen passes to Debo, they probably could win a lot of games that way. They could, because they're supremely talented. So
Loaded team for sure. Green glass full. It's the soft dough, right, Jesse? What is that?
I don't even know what
What's
you're
this
saying.
dough?
Bro.
Is this
I
like an
don't-
inside? I feel like it was just an inside joke that I'm not privy to.
I don't know. God bless you, Green Glass Full. You crazy kook.
Andy 707. Do you share the booth with Grant? Do I share the booth with Grant? When I mean, at the games, we're in the press box, but the press box is goes from the entire length of the field, I think, almost. Not the media portion. It goes from the 50 to the 10, and he's probably sitting closer to the 50, and I'm sitting closer to the 10. So, but that has nothing to do. It's assigned seating. It has nothing to do with anything. Brother Bob, why you bring up Lance? I just don't know why. I didn't bring up Lance. I just read the chat. You brought up Lance. See, look right here, Lance. Lance Lover. But I just think that your anti-Purdiness doesn't make sense, because Purdy's the reason that the 49ers are the number one seed and have this bye. And he's played great. And you're a Niner guy. You should be all about Purdy. But I get it. I'm too much about Purdy in your eyes and your ears. And so it's nauseating to you. I get it. Alan from Coles. Hey, Alan. How's life in Indianapolis? Love the both of y'all. Keep up the work. Appreciate you, Alan.
Thanks, Alan.
Good man. Good man.
Alan from Coles.
He works at Coles in Indianapolis.
I know he does. That's awesome.
He's great. He's a great guy. And he called in last night. Brother Bob says, Nails, get this right. Should number 33, Roger Craig, be in the Hall of Fame? I think he should be. And
I think
I really am strong. I feel very strongly that Roger should be in the Hall of Fame. And here's my argument. The 84 Niners were the greatest Niner team of all time, arguably. Okay. And Roger Craig in that on the greatest team of all time easily could have been the Super Bowl MVP. He scored 3 touchdowns and was in many ways the best player on the field in Super Bowl 19. He's also the only guy who was a Pro Bowler as a halfback and a fullback. He's also the only running back from the team of the 80s and the team of the 90s, I believe, that's not in the Hall of Fame. He was the original 1,000 before McCaffrey, before Marshall Faulk. Roger Craig also, people think that, he was a product of Jerry Rice. Playing with Jerry Rice actually hurt Roger Craig's numbers, because Jerry needed the ball and Roger was the easygoing team guy. And so it was easy for the Niners to feed Jerry and put his numbers in the stratosphere, because they knew Roger was all about the W. And that's great. And it made the Niners go at that time, but it also deflated Roger's football cards numbers. Roger was a great, great player, and should have been a Hall of Famer by now. And if Bill Walsh were alive, he would have made it his personal, agenda to make sure Roger was in. He would have talked him up constantly, and Bill carried enough weight that Roger would be in if Bill were alive. I sincerely believe that. I've talked to Guy McIntyre and other longstanding 49ers about this. We're all in agreement. And hopefully Roger will get in, but his numbers are borderline, and I think there's a reason for that. Because you hardly ever see a football locker room, Jesse, where the running back had 150 yards and the receivers had 150 yards. Usually it's like one or the other. And there were a lot of times where they kept feeding Jerry, and they easily could have fed Roger if Jerry wasn't there. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say short answer, no. No, I'm totally joking. I just knew Brother Bob would break a blood vessel if I said it. If you're gonna make a case between him and Gore, I definitely would go Craig over Gore, and because he was arguably the best player in the league for a year or two, best running back in the league, I should say.
Yeah,
and
87, 88, he was awesome.
He did something unique. He being the first 1,000, that he brought something to the league that the league had not seen before. So yeah, absolutely. I would make a case for Roger Craig before I would Frank Gore for sure.
Andy 707, I'm going to the divisional game. Can't wait. Andy, have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun. Can't wait to see that game as well. Matthew
I'll
Rowley.
be at the NFC Championship. So anybody that's going to be there, come say what's up.
You're going to be at the NFC Championship?
I'll be at the NFC Championship. Yeah.
You're coming to town for that.
I'll be there. Yep.
Look at that. Are you coming solo or are you bringing the kid?
I'm coming solo. So
wow. Matthew Rowley.
I got it. Well, I'm coming with a buddy. I'm meeting a friend there, but
yeah.
But
you're not bringing the family.
No.
Matthew Rowley says, I'm deathly afraid we're making a mistake not playing Purdy in week 18. Young said 2 weeks is too long and too hard to transition back into games. Yeah.
We talked about it earlier.
I
think we both made the case
point
as to why we're not that worried about Purdy. And two reasons really is what we came up with. One is you're talking about somebody who really didn't have much of an offseason and hit the ground running. That was super impressive. Why can't he do it again after a couple weeks off and playing a whole season? And reason number two is they're really a team that can knock you off even if you're not on your A game. I don't know if that team exists in the NFC. We'll see.
Jesus drops this one. He says there should be a Hall of Fame for 49er content creators. Appreciate that. Hey, last comment, and then we'll bolt for the door here. We're 2 hours and 21 minutes into the live stream. Once again, thanks to Pig and a Pickle, New York style Italian sausage, Marin Auto Glass, Underdog Fantasy, and Mojo Fantasy. My last question to you, Jesse, is this. Should Shanahan... Okay, we know he's not going to play Purdy, and we know he can't. The rest of the starters are basically going to go. I mean, there's not going to be an Armstead. There's not going to be CMC. There's not going to be Ambry. The hurt players are not going to play, and Purdy's not going to play. But we know he. And if you ask me what practice squad players, I was talking to Matt Barrows about this today. We both think the running back, the former Buccaneer running back. What's that running back's name? They have
oh yeah I know yeah
on the practice squad. God,
yeah, I can't remember his name, but yes, I know. Yeah,
Nichols and Taylor Hawkins would be the two guys that I think they're going to call off the practice squad in for the game on Sunday against the Rams. But should Shanahan go all out to win this game, or should he hold back his best plays, knowing that they may play the Rams in a few weeks? We know there's two things to discuss. There's who should play. We've already kind of hit that. But then there's also how should Shanahan call the game? Should he try to win try every way possible to win the game? I mean, that seems like a real simple kind of mindset. Or do you hold back knowing that you may have to play the Rams in the playoffs?
I wouldn't hold back from a standpoint of trying to win the game. I definitely try to win the game. Now, I wouldn't come out with my A game plan if that's what you're asking. Like, hey, if we were to play the Rams and this was for the playoffs on the line or the number one seed, I'm going to call this game exactly the same. I wouldn't go that far, but I would definitely try to win. I mean, these backups, regardless, they're competitive. They want to win. And really, if I'm him, I'm taking this opportunity to get as many people some reps as possible, because you never know when you're going to have an injury. If the worst case scenario happened and Brock Purdy gets hurt again in the NFC Championship, gosh, I'd feel a lot better if Sam Darnold threw the ball 30 times this week than if he handed it off 30 times and threw 12 times. You know what I mean? Like, I want to get as many reps as possible for some of these guys in case of emergency, break glass, you got to play them. At least I know that they played a couple weeks ago and there's something in there from a competitive nature. So I'm definitely trying to win. I'm just not calling my A game plan as if I'm trying to knock them out of the playoffs and advance to the next round to head towards a Super Bowl.
Last question then. If you believe that, and I believe that too, I want to see Sam, because he might have to go to Sam. Heck, they went to Josh Johnson. Would you play Sam all 4 quarters, or would you make Brandon Allen that second quarterback and throw him out there in the 4th quarter? Otherwise, Brandon Allen hasn't taken a live snap since the preseason. Is it important for Brandon Allen to get any reps at all? Do you think Shanahan will play him at all? Should he play him at all? Or, nah, just go with Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I mean, I would play Sam all game. You're taking a risk. You're definitely taking a risk. After what happened last year, I know that there's some panic there, but I'd play Sam. He's next man up. I want to get as many reps as I can for him.
And Alan from Cole's last super of the night says, who y'all's low-key teams for both sides? What does that mean? You talking about for both sides?
Who we taking to make the Super Bowl?
I think
Maybe is what he's asking.
I think he means like sleeper teams in each conference.
Oh, okay.
I would say Rams and Browns. I think the Browns are, Flacco's playing with the house's money. He's got good receivers. They got great players on all 3 levels of their defense. Flacco's played in the Super Bowl before. He seems to be playing very loose. I think he's got like 100-yard games. I think the Browns have won like 7 of 9. I'll say Browns in the AFC and Rams in the AFC, or in the NFC.
Yeah, I'll go with the Bills. I picked them 4 weeks ago to come back and win that division. And I think that they're going to seal that this week. They're getting relatively healthy at the right time. And you've got, for the first time in Josh Allen's career, a real running game. They've been winning, and Diggs hasn't even been involved, really. So I'll go with Buffalo out of the AFC, but I agree in the NFC. I agree.
Raw Mel says, Larry, Jesse, Coach, love the shows, fellas. Much love. Shout out to the chat. Brother Bob. Nails. Woo, I was going to ask for all $2 soups back.
If I had said Roger Craig wasn't in, did you be honest, Brother Bob? Did you break a blood vessel for a half second when I said he's short answer? No, he's not a Hall of Famer. I know that had to get to you. I hope it worked.
Wait a second. Brother Bob and I were aligned. We were aligned.
Hey, there you go.
What's up, Larry and Jesse? All right, that does it for us. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Jesse. Thanks to the sponsors. Thanks to all you guys in the chat. We are out. Have a great night. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of.